Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 438. We talk about the San Diego Comic-Con 2015. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, drnorge. I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim, paging Dr. Bluebird. So says the sensei of the whatnot, Segulin, the Duke of You-Know, and the elder statesman of the podcast.
How's it going, eh? I was expecting Dr. Bluebird.
That will make more sense at our midway interlude in the show. On this episode, Jim and I are going to be talking about the amazing events coming out of the San Diego Comic-Con. This one kind of fell under my radar, and I was amazed as news was coming in. I'm like, oh, wow, there's all kinds of cool stuff that we really should talk about on the show. So not only are we going to be sharing the news, but more importantly, we're going to be sharing our reactions to the news, what we think it's going to mean, what we're excited about, and why, more than just giving you the straight news. So that's going to be the focal point of this episode. Jim, we are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network, the League of Comic Book Podcasts, and the InfiniteComics.com podcast partnership. Sponsoring this episode is DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. Mr. Segulin, what is going on over at DCBService.com?
Well, of course, we always have the wonderful bundles that the people of DCBS give us. Definitely check them out. But the thing that really caught my eye was Absolute Joker Luthor hardcover. They're taking the 5-issue Luthor Man of Steel and the original graphic novel Joker, putting them together in absolutely beautiful, absolute format, along with sketchbook pages and more. Written by Brian Azzarello, art by Lee Bermeo and Mick Gray. We've got some amazing stuff going on here. I saw that. I was like, oh, I have both these things already, but we're getting them nice collected together. Thank you. Woohoo.
Now, the deals of the week that are up at InStockTrades.com, I should say, are the same ones that were up last week, but I encourage you, if you didn't grab these, to go ahead and grab some of them. Like, they have the Batman Arkham Knight hardcover, Volume 1, 50% off, only $9.99. Eternal Trade Paperback, Volume 2, 50% off, only $19.99. I want to shout this one. It's the king-size Kirby slipcase hardcover. That's 50% off, only $100. It's a $200 slipcase. You get 50% off, only $100. You're saving $100 by ordering it this way. That's a huge deal. They have the Justice League hardcover. This is the regular releases. Justice League hardcover, Volume 6. Is 42% off, only $14.49. They have amazing deals throughout the site, and I encourage you to head over to InStockTrades.com, catch some of these deals, or if you're checking it, check out the brand new deals of the week that are available at sponsor of the show, InStockTrades.com. Mr. Segulin, what kind of a podcast are we?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plotline, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're discussing on today's show. So, if you haven't read the books, well, actually, in this case, if we're dealing with a San Diego Comic-Con panel, so if we're throwing out any spoilers from there, and if you don't want them, please make sure to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
This is your doctor calling, Jim. Let's talk some comics.
Carter Hall, scientific genius from a far-off world, flies into action as Hawkman.
Jim, we're going to do something a little different on this episode. It's funny, when you and I talked at the end of last episode about what we're going to talk about on this show, I figured we'd just continue on to the new DC books, and we're going to do that. That's going to be a continuing series of episodes. But obviously, San Diego Comic-Con's here. And I guess this one was under the radar for me. Not that the Comic-Con was coming up, but I don't know why I didn't have it in my head like, oh, there's going to be news and things we're going to want to discuss. And I really, genuinely didn't have that in my head. So we have a voicemail relating to San Diego Comic-Con, but you and I also have gone to places like Newsarama, DC Comics News, Comic News Resource, comic book resources, and places like that to gather information about the panels and what's been happening. We watch trailers, and we're not going to go through and regurgitate every piece of news, but there's a lot to react to, and a lot that's coming up in DC that'd be fun to talk about. So obviously this is going to be spoilery based on the panels, so if you're somebody who doesn't like getting information from panels, you're probably going to want to avoid this episode because we're going to be geeking out about all the news. But obviously it's not going to reveal anything other than what was revealed at these panels. I love talking about this stuff, so I'm excited for this episode. Let's start with a voicemail.
I just saw, this is Jack in Redlands, and I just saw the San Diego Comic-Con Superman versus Batman trailer, and man, that I want to rage about. That, every ounce of that trailer looks amazing. My brother, who is no longer a comic book collector, is saying that this could be the greatest movie ever, just off that trailer. Now, I don't, want to raise hopes too high, but boy, does that Wonder Woman's costume is great. Jesse Eisenberg's, the Red Capes Are Coming line was just so Lex Luthor, so perfect. Of course, Henry Cavill's amazing. And Batman, Affleck is going to be so great in this role. Now, what I would like to see happen in this movie, this is just, I have no idea that it will, but what I'd like to see happen in this movie is during the fight between Batman and Superman, that Superman does something heroic and noble, so much so that it inspires Bruce, and Bruce sees that he's not that Alfred's right, and he's not the enemy, and that changes Bruce to on Superman's side. I don't really care who wins the fight, as long as, because I want to see the bond between those two be built as strong as it is in the comic books. And that bond can come through conflict. If Superman inspires Batman, who would just be, anyway, I think the core of Batman being justice and the core of Superman being inspiration, I think you could do so much with that. And I would like to see the fight, and however they end with Superman doing something that just proves who he really is. And Batman then comes on his side. What do you guys say? What do you guys want out of this movie? Is there any kind of expectation that you're looking for in this movie? And did you see the trailer, and what do you think? All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.
I want it to be awesome. At its core, that's what I want. I mean, there's a lot of things that I want. But go ahead. I'll let you go ahead first. What do you want from this, or what are your thoughts on that?
Oh God. Well, first off, I agree that trailer looked awesome, and I'm a fan of Ben Affleck acting. I know there's a lot of people out there who don't like that and don't like him, and anytime he's associated with something, they immediately trash it, which I'm hoping this doesn't get that automatic Affleck hatred, because I did like how he was looking, where he is a little bit older and we're dealing with an older Batman, etc. Just the kind of the fact that the Bat was always around before this and then went away, and now he's coming back, kind of coming out of retirement to deal with this super alien. And I agree with them. I do want to have that moment in the fight where Bruce realizes, hey, this is not a monster. Something else is going on here. So I want that bond as well. But I was, you see just the lineup going on with the different actors and just who they have in the different roles. And you're just like, this is going to be a star-studded movie. And the key when you have such powerful actors, when you have people who know what they're doing, you've got to give them an equally powerful script. And I think we're seeing enough from Snyder that we know he knows what he's doing. So I'm very comfortable and very positive about this. And I absolutely love Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. Just those couple little quirks, those little clips. I was like, oh, this is going to be good, because he's going to be less Gene Hackman, where he is the criminal mastermind, and more like the comic books, more like that. He seems like he's going to be that person who, I am what's best for the world. Yes, I will have to kill some people to do it, but I am what's best for the world. And I think that style of Lex Luthor has always been my favorite. So I'm definitely looking forward to where this goes and what comes out of it.
Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Argo, Gone Girl. I mean, I'm just rattling off movies, at the top of my head that are ones that, Gone Girl I really enjoyed recently that was released. But Argo, obviously, that was a big home run for him. I think the initial casting of Ben Affleck caused a lot of that, but as more and more has been revealed, I've noticed that's quieted down quite a bit, and I'm glad to see that, because I gotta be honest with you, in the trailer, one of the things that struck me was how much, I love how they did the gray hair, the graying in his hair, because they're trying to show an older Batman, they're going more Dark Knight Returns, but I think one of the things that really struck me, if you take a look at current comic books, how much he looks like the current Bruce Wayne. You throw a beard on him, he's the guy we're currently seeing in the comics. And that's really good casting. I loved seeing him in Bruce Wayne mode in this trailer. That was something that was, because we've seen him kind of in the armor, and we saw like a shot of him, kind of looking at the bat suit, but we didn't really get to see him in Bruce Wayne mode. We got to see a lot more action in this one. Totally agree with the comments on the Wonder Woman costume. I'm going to be honest, I never had any problems with Gal Gadot's casting, and apologies for any name butchery if I'm doing that wrong, but I always thought she was a bit thin. I was part of that camp that was a little bit concerned about that, just because of, the way I think of Wonder Woman. I don't need her necessarily to be the big bulked up Amazon. Linda Carter certainly wasn't that, but I do have this impression of Wonder Woman. When I saw her on screen, first of all, I love that she looks elegant when she's not dressed as Wonder Woman. She looks like a princess. And I mean that not in any way to diminish it. It looks like royalty. I mean, there's something about her presence in the way that they've dressed her, the makeup, the whole way she carries herself. I was nice to see her not dressed as Wonder Woman, just because there's a way that she carries herself there. But then when they showed her in that full-on outfit, I'm a believer. I am like, it goes back to what we said about The Flash. Like the Flash costume on the show now, I adore. When I first saw it in stills before the series was released, I was questioning that as well. I'm a big fan of the idea that it's very hard to see from stills what a costume looks like in practice. Now all of a sudden, it's fantastic. What home run on casting of her, because she looks great in that.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill, I loved in the first one. I like that this one, first of all, has the cast from the first one. It was nice to see his mom. It was nice to see Amy Adams back as Lois Lane. Diane Lane was terrific as his mom. I loved the poignant moments of them talking and how a lot of this is reactionary to what happened in Man of Steel. A lot of the buzz against it from fans has been the sheer amount of destruction and how dark it was. This is going to be an aftermath of that. That's story-based, and we're seeing a reaction in this film to all of that. I wonder if this is an opportunity for maybe some of those fans who maybe didn't like the first film to maybe come on board this new premise by addressing some of their concerns and having Superman called to task for them. And more importantly, to me, how does Superman react to that? That's what's going to make him or break him as Superman in this story, in this universe. So I'm excited for that being explored because it doesn't ignore what the fans' concerns were, the ones that were in that camp. I loved the first movie, so yeah, they got me. But there is a camp, and under they're more than. That's their opinion, and that's strong, and there's some validity to that. If that isn't their take on Superman, I'm glad that they're addressing this in this film. I wonder if this is going to be a movie that has the potential to bring both camps of fans together. And if so, that will be the victory point. If they can do that, if they can address all those concerns and tie it up into a tight bow, this could really be the film that launches the new DC line. Did you see the news about the Batman movie?
Well, the only news I saw was Affleck and Jeff Johns working together on the script for it.
Right, and then Affleck's going to direct and obviously star. Yeah. So, and this is going to be shooting as of November, I believe. He's finishing up a film in November, and then he's jumping right to this. And this is going to be released after Justice League Part 1. So we've got Justice League Part 1, we've got a new Batman movie coming. I'm excited. This is something that I'm looking forward to. How do you feel about that? To me, Jeff Johns co-writing is a home run.
You got Jeff Johns in it, so I'm comfortable with the story that's going to be out there just because of that fact. I wasn't a big fan of Affleck's directing, because with that, with his movie, because I only saw the one movie that he directed, and I know everyone said, "Oh, it's this great movie." I don't know. I wasn't.
Argo?
Yeah.
You didn't like Argo?
It's not that I didn't like it. I think there was some areas, because when you start looking at what really happened to what they did in the movie, I was like, really? You're going to, this massively dramatic scene in the movie really wasn't at all dramatic. And
well, wait. Is that his directing, or is that the story being told on the? Here's the difference. You're not comparing his directing. You're comparing real life events to the story told on screen. There's a difference there.
But that's the thing. Yeah. Again, I don't know how much of that was his control, how much of it. But when you're the director, you're in control of that stuff. When you're the director, it's your call to say what gets amped up, what doesn't get amped up. And I don't know. That was just my issues with Argo. But on the other side note, with a lot of times, even the best of actors, I always have concerns when they're directing and acting in it. And it's one of those things where, there have been some fabulous actor-directors out there who have done it and have done it wonderfully.
Unforgiven.
Right. I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There have been the actors who have done it and done it wonderfully. Clint Eastwood is one of them. He can do it. I don't know if Ben Affleck can do it. I still, but again, these are just concerns. I'm not flat out saying it's going to be horrible because I don't know yet until I actually see it on screen. But those are always my concerns when you get an actor saying, I'm going to act and star in it. I'm direct and star in it. Well, let's just pick one. Go with one way or the other. And you're going to star in it. So get a director that you trust. Get somebody that will do your vision of it and put them in it. Writing, acting, I think is cool. Writing, directing, I think is great. For me, it's always just a personal choice. Writing, directing, and acting always throws me off because, if you're the director, direct. If you're the actor, act. And that's just how my brain kind of works sometimes.
Except, here's where I think I'm going to disagree with you on this one. So our lead guy, Batman, is going to understand the inner workings and the intention for the character better than anybody else on set. He's going to understand the vision for the character. He's working with Jeff Johns to craft the script. So the lead guy is going to, who is a proven director. I loved Argo. So I don't know that I agree. I agree with your reasoning, but I don't know that that's a directing issue. I think the story that was being told was well crafted for a film. If you have issues with the reality versus the film that was presented, films typically, when they take real life events, amp it up and make it more sensational to draw in the theater-going audience. If you don't like that, I don't have an argument with you on that one. That's a personal preference thing, but I don't know that that's fair to stamp on the director. The idea for the director is to put a thought-provoking, exciting film out there. You might have issues with the reality versus it, and you're right to feel that way, and I'm not going to dispute that in any stretch, because I don't know enough about the real story, to the level, obviously you have a better background than I do, in the point that that's something that's passionate to you and important to you, especially with what you do for a living. So I don't dispute that. I don't think you're wrong for feeling that way. I don't know that that's a sign of bad directing, though. There was a script and there was an intention, and I thought that was very well delivered on the film. This is a guy who's going to, again, script and intention, delivering on the film in a way that is satisfying to the fans who are going there to see what is in that script. He's proven he can deliver that. And that's what I'm excited about with it. And with him working with Jeff Johns, you've got a guy who understands how to deliver big, epic, character-driven, emotional stories in Jeff Johns, working with Ben Affleck, who's proven he can do that on screen. Good Will Hunting. Take a look at, the story written there. I think there is a lot of talent in Ben Affleck that can be showcased here. I want him to succeed. I want him to prove the naysayers wrong. I want it to be that Batman film that knocks my socks off. So I'm excited for it. Especially, it's funny how the original rumor that I heard was him writing, directing, and starring in it. I was less excited about that until you add in a Jeff Johns co-writing, and here addresses some of the concerns you were talking about. He's not going to do this all in isolation. He's going to have a team of people working on this film. So when he's on set, he's going to have advisors. He's going to have people working with him. Hollywood film is not just like the director and they don't have anybody, assistants or other people working with him. Look at Jeff Johns' history with Richard Donner. And, today, even more so with the big budget nature of Hollywood films, there is a team working with you on this. So the key to Affleck on this is who he surrounds himself with, who DC Entertainment works with him to surround himself with. He's going to have his own people that he's pulling in. It's not going to be an isolated vision. I'm confident that all of the parts of this will come together with the right team. I want it to succeed. And I hope I'm right. I don't want to be wrong on that. It could go horribly wrong. And I'm sorry, go ahead. You have some things you wanted to say.
Oh no, I agree. There's there is definitely the strong possibility this is going to be amazing and this is going to be wonderful. For me, it's not even a statement about him, or even it's always just that notion in my head. Anytime I see the director, and it's the director actor, always throws me and always gives me pause and always gives me concern. And I've had multiple times where I've seen it and said, this is absolutely amazing. I'm happy for it. And again, what you're saying about the fact that the main character, the director, is going to have such a solid knowledge of the story being told. Yes, that is going to be wonderful for, that is a wonderful potential, to see on screen. I just think, it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know. Part of it is just me and how I look at things. Part of it is just how, concerned. Yeah, I'm a professional skeptic. It's what I do for a living, and sometimes it bleeds over into the real world. So, I'm always going to look at when I look at a situation, first thing I do look at it is what could go wrong. And that's the thing that's glaring out there. Now, story-wise, what we're going to get, what we can get some potentially amazing stuff. Batman Begins, Dark Knight Returns, all those massive mega Batman movies that we absolutely loved. We can get another one of those very easily from this creative team. Very easily we could get something that's going to be talked about for years to come about, oh my God, that was amazing. That was the greatest Batman story told on screen. Yeah, we could very easily get that from this talent pool they're pulling from. So I am looking forward to it, but and I am excited for it. It's just there's always going to be in my head until I physically see that, until I physically actually get to experience it. I'm always going to have those little concerns.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think we all approach those things differently. I think where I get worried is not in your comments. There's a lot of negativity that seems to shoot out right away from people, and it's almost like they want to see these films fail for some reason. Their comments lead to that. And my worry about that is if you're a casual fan who comes on the internet and you see all this stuff, it automatically adds a sense of foreboding to the film, if I'm making sense, and makes it kind of a film that falls under people's radars because they're hearing so much trash talk about it before anything's been created. You're not doing that in this case, and I get that, and I don't mean it that way with regards to you, but I do see that happen a lot. And in particular, with his name associated with some of the DC projects, that's happened very early on. I don't see it as much anymore. And I'm glad to see that shrinking. I'm glad to see people opening up and recognizing who Ben Affleck is and what he brings to the table. I'm excited by it because when I see that, I don't think only one person's involved. I really don't.
Yeah.
That's going to be a team-driven, and I have faith and confidence in him with his history in film and with also the home runs that he's hit, being able to deliver that. And especially when you got a Jeff Johns tacked on that does make a difference to me because that shows that Ben Affleck's working closely with DC Entertainment. There's an important key because Jeff Johns is that creative figure, and look at what we've seen on television with DC Entertainment. It just changes the tone for me, and that really did have a big factor because this would be a different discussion between you and me when the first news came out, it was just Ben Affleck's name being associated there. Not any knock on him, but it's different when, wow, this is really smart. He's working with Jeff Johns to write the script. Really smart that there's a DC Entertainment tie. So whatever he's doing moving forward, he's going to be working with that team, working very closely with them to make sure that this is a film that is bringing about that vision. He's going to help be a voice in bringing about that vision, which means it's going to be tied in with the Justice League movie. It's going to be tied in with the overall overarching direction. And I want them to do that. I want them to set a tone and a pace for the DC films. It's one of the reasons why I'm excited for, the Superman Batman movie, that's coming up. I want to see, or Batman Superman. I want to see this film take what started in Man of Steel and turn it into the bridge that brings back maybe fans that were underwhelmed by the first one or turned off by the first one, because there was a big camp that was in that place. And I think there's an opportunity to do this here and really set the vision going. There were some underwater sequences. Did you see that?
Yes.
That, had me, are we going to, obviously, are we going to see some Aquaman?
Hey, I'm on 100% camp to showing us a little bit of Aquaman, especially the actor they got going with this. I really dig how they're tweaking that character around and completely changing his look, and I'm all 100% in for that because I think that actor's awesome.
Well, the new comic. The post Convergence Aquaman, the slight tweaks to the character there, starting to look a little bit more like the on-screen version, without going too crazy.
Right.
He's still our Aquaman. He's still our comic book Aquaman. But the tweaks were enough that I like that because there's a little bit of a bridge there. I do like that the comic books, while they'll reflect television and film, they aren't beholden to them. And I like vice versa, that the television and film aren't beholden to the comics, because I don't want to. It's kind of like what I like about the TV show Walking Dead, right? Walking Dead is telling, the story of Walking Dead that we all know and love. But the cool part about it is there's a different character set that's still alive. There's certain, because there's characters like Daryl Dixon, for example, that weren't in the comics, they add a twist to the story that keeps it fresh and interesting, but yet there's a familiarity of the story that we've loved in the comics being told. That's a geek out. It feels like that rich world being told. I want that for my television shows and film too, and we're getting that. And I think it's something Marvel's been doing extremely well. I'm excited for their summer output. It's something that DC's getting on board with, and they've been doing it on television. Now they're getting it on film. I'm excited as can be for Suicide Squad. Like, the more I'm seeing for that's the film that's like, talk about a film that for me has been under the radar. I haven't been like really paying a whole lot of attention to it until all of a sudden they start showing Batman and the Joker. Then I started paying attention to the rest of the casting and the rest of the film, and that's a very interesting lineup. That's one that I think is going to be I think it's going to be a surprise hit. So I hope on the level of like a Guardians of the Galaxy, where it's going to be coming out of nowhere and really shock people, because Guardians of the Galaxy was a home run for Marvel with its unique story that expanded what kind of films you can put on screen. And I'm hoping that Suicide Squad does the same thing. I want it to be a home run because I think we'll see more unique comic properties come to the big screen. And I want to see that.
Yeah, and it's funny because we had a conversation, I can't remember how many episodes ago, about whether Suicide Squad could be the next Guardians of the Galaxy kind of thing. And you had that, you're like, yeah, I think it can be. And I remember being Mr. Pessimist and saying, I don't know if they're going to be able to pull it off, because Guardians had this sci-fi feel on top of the comic book. I'm gonna retract my previous statement and say this has the potential for a Guardians of the Galaxy. Just the hype that's starting to build on this, and just some of the that coolness factor that we're getting in this with the Joker, with the Batman having their appearances, with the concept of the Suicide Squad. Just, it's starting to build, and I think we definitely have a potential Guardians of the Galaxy surprise hit here, where people are like, bam, it's going to be non-comic book fans going, you got to see this. You're going to have people seeing it multiple times. I think you're going to have that same type of heat, that we had from Guardians. I'm really hoping, because that's the lead-in for Superman versus Batman. So again, if we can do bam, 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 hit after hit after hit, we may see a change in the standard perception of the movies when it comes to DC property.
Jim, we're gonna kind of talk casually about certain panels, and we'll go to specific ones in a second. I want to talk specifically about 4 titles that were announced that are going to be launched. There was the Superman Lois and Clark, Coming of the Superman, Titans Hunt, and a Telos title. Now, the Coming of Superman is going to be the Neil Adams title, which is Jack Kirby's characters fighting Superman. This is like there's 3 new Supermen who fall somewhere between the 3 Musketeers and 3 Stooges. But there's some surprises in this one where they take Superman's blood and they discover something about Superman, and that's all he can tell right now, because there's going to be an unfolding mystery there that we're going to find out. Superman, Lois, and Clark. Now, this is our pre-New 52 Lois and Clark, who were married. After Convergence, they went off to stop Crisis on Infinite Earths. This takes place 9 years after all that, and shows them after those events living life. Where do they go from there? I cannot be more excited about that book, because this is where we're seeing the ripple effect of Convergence. Yeah. They also said this book's going to explain that because they stopped Crisis on Infinite Earths, There's one story, one continuity now. They stopped the reboots and relaunches by doing this. So this is a pivotal book that's going to explain what does all of that look like post that. And it does tie everything together now. Our worries about, did the stories that we grew up loving happen? Yes. They all happen. All that continuity is all wrapped up together now because of the various events. The way the New 52 kicked off with Flashpoint, now Convergence has once again clarified how everything comes together in a nice, neat bow. It's what they did with. It's why I loved Jeff Johns and what he did with Hawkman all those years ago. He found a nice way to tie up all that kookiness together again. He needs to do it again because Hawkman needs help. But I love Hawkman. I need help. Help him. Somebody stat. But this type of thing is what I love. It's proof that creative creators can take a very simple idea, pull everything together, and give us a satisfying explanation that makes us feel comfortable about classic stories in our current universe. We need that. We need those connecting threads. I'm a big fan of continuity. You don't have to be beholden to it. This is a way to address. We can tell new and creative stories now, but those of you that loved all that stuff before, it's still there. It happened. Here we go. What are you thinking about this series?
Oh, I'm loving this concept. I'm loving the idea. We're bringing back the multiverse. Once again, we now have an active multiverse out there. We still have Superman going on in the current story, but now we have this other Superman, this other Lois and Clark story going on, and, with their son. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see what happens going forward. Because it was, in the one clip, they say they're talking about the last son and daughter of Krypton and Earth. And it got me wondering, now, are they talking... Because at first, when I first read it, I'm like, wait, daughter? Wait, no. Because I was thinking last son is Clark, and their kid's a daughter. I'm like, wait, they had a boy. So then I started, rereading it again. It was the last son and daughter of Krypton and Earth. They're talking Lois and Clark. Mm-hmm. Clark being the last son of Krypton, Lois being the last son of last daughter of Earth. And so that, for me, was a really cool just kind of distinction that, yes, they're on Earth, but they're not on their Earth. They're not on their planet. They're not on their time. So they are going to be kind of improvising, adapting, overcoming, figuring out where they fit in the big picture. And those are the kind of stuff that, especially when you get a really cool Lois Lane story, you can have some neat stuff coming out of it. So this isn't just going to be about Clark Kent being Superman punching giant robots. This is going to be about Lois and Clark living with their kid and dealing with the situation, dealing with the world around them. So I'm definitely very, very excited for this because we're going to get some cool in-costume moments. We're going to get some cool out-of-costume moments, and we're going to get some unknown factors that I haven't even thought of yet.
They're on a brand new world, and I like that part. But it's going to be interesting to see what the premise of this world is, because we don't know a lot about it at the moment. But on this world, what ends up happening is like Intergang, and villains like that, they are going to be created on this world. And it looks like Superman has the opportunity to stop that ahead of time. What does that look like? How is he able to stop it? How do you even know that they're going to be created? What does that look like? That premise is interesting to me, but also that they have a 9-year-old son.
Yeah.
And we're seeing them dropped into... There's an opportunity for some flashback stories. What do these last 9 years look like for them? Eventually, this kid's going to discover who they really are. What does that mean on this world? Those are things that I'm really intrigued by. It's Dan Jurgens and Lee Weeks doing the artwork, and I cannot be more excited. That's in October. This October is going to be a really, really cool month for new experiences. That's one of them, though, that is really on my radar.
Yeah, that Titans hunt, that looks kind of interesting for me. Because, again, that's another one of those... I'm not 100% certain if this is taking place on our Earth and this character is remembering people from other Earths, or is this taking place on another Earth, where they're remembering this unknown Titans team and this unknown Titans? Who are these unknown team? There's a lot of the mystery and the unknown involved with that. And again, it's taking characters, the Teen Titan characters, these classic characters that I've really digged over time, and saying, yes, we still have more stories to tell from them.
Well, if you take a look at the cover image, it is the current New 52 versions of Red Robin, Starfire, Beast Boy, and Raven, along with Batman, Green Lantern, and Cyborg and Superman. And the costumes are very much the New 52 versions of Robin and people like Arsenal and stuff like that. It's Dick Grayson, Roy Harper, Donna Troy, and Garth. Actually, I think it's the first time that we're seeing an Atlantean named Garth. Our former Aqualad showing up. You know what I'm curious about in the New 52, and then there's Hank Hall and Dawn Granger. How are they going to be in there? I'm just excited for this one because it looks like it's going to be telling something. It looks like it's in the New 52. I don't really care if it's not, but it's Lilith, it's a character from Titan's history, looking at a vision of these particular characters, and I'm going to be curious how this story plays into the overall mythos. Really excited about that. Aqualad, I was going to reference. I wonder if we're ever going to see again the Aqualad that was created pre-New 52. Because I liked him, that kid that was there. I hope at some point in time we do get an opportunity to see him. Not that I want Garth going anywhere. I love Garth. Tempest. Aqualad grew into Tempest. I'm hoping that maybe they introduce this one as Tempest to give us an opportunity maybe to have that Aqualad show up at some point. I don't know that he really fits into Aquaman right now. Or maybe now would be a great time for him with everything going on with Aquaman for him to fit into Aquaman. But I hope that character's not gone because I thought he was a great new addition to the mythos, and I hope we do have an opportunity to see that character again because I haven't heard much of him at all. But I agree with you. That Titans hunt is very interesting. What about Tom King on Telos?
Wow. Tom King, done.
Yeah. So Telos finds himself free and able to traverse space and time via a sliver of Brainiac's powers. And he goes on like this odyssey, journeying across time and space in search of his past. I love about that, we don't know who he is. He started to learn who he was, but we don't really know. So I'm interested in the character. He was interesting enough in Convergence. It was funny, as Convergence went on, he was this very wooden character in the beginning where I could have cared less about him, other than that he was a foil to demonstrate all this. As the story unfolded, his relationship with Dick Grayson made me care. I want to read more of this character. I'm interested.
And especially given the power set kind of, he's going to be able to go through time and space and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking we're going to get even more multiverse adventures this way. I think we're going to get kind of a guide. Telos is kind of going to be our window into these other Earths and these other characters that were introduced in Convergence. Maybe Telos is going to look in on them, on top of figuring out who he is. I'm looking forward to the mystery of who Telos is, looking forward to his exploration, but also looking forward to his interactions with other characters and other multiverses and other characters in this universe as well.
Speaking of multiverses, it was revealed at Grant Morrison's Multiversity and Beyond panel that there's going to be a Multiversity 2. And it looks like they're going to be single issues focusing on characters and concepts from his Multiversity series. Like the first one's going to start in 2016, Multiversity 2, The Flash. I'm excited to see those characters explored because it ended us off with this really interesting new Justice League style group. And I want to learn more about the characters who are leading it. But also, and this is where I'm really geeking out, there's a Batman Black and White reprisal. That series is coming back. Morrison's going to be teaming with an unnamed cast of the biggest art talents in comic books in the black and white format. So I'm excited to see him come back to Batman with a black and white series coming there. Do you like... I don't know what your history is with Batman Black and White, but even in concept, do you enjoy stories that are told in a black and white format? Are you more of a color? I like both. I really enjoy the stories. I like when there's a storytelling reason and stories are driven to be told in black and white versus, I like color and colorists and what they bring to the table for a majority of my comics, but I really enjoy when a comic's told. Like I loved, I'll give a great example, Jeff Smith's Bone was all black and white. I'm loving Thieves and Kings. I loved Star Child. These are books that were written, Walking Dead. These are stories that are told deliberately using the black and white format, and I think they're served very well by the shading and what they do in those stories. Where are you at on black and white versus color comics? Is that something that you enjoy?
Well, I personally would say I enjoy color over black and white, but like you, I like how there are certain stories that it really fits. And I'm glad you mentioned Walking Dead because I think Walking Dead is absolutely wonderful in black and white. And Yeah, you get the right colors, it would look really cool. But there is something just extra special about the black and white version. It's kind of like when they did the TV show. They redid the first episode in black and white, and I thought that was a really cool look to it. And going back to seeing an old show I'd seen before, but again, it had kind of had that really cool style and groove to it. So black and white can definitely be something that's neat. The previous black and white comics, I think I've got them in trade paperback, and I think I read them. But to be honest, I don't recall the storyline from it at all in any way, shape, or form. It was one of those things I think I picked up saying, "Oh, let me get this. This looks probably cool," and that was about it. So it's I'm with this new one. I'll probably pick it up. I'll read it. It's something that looking at creative teams. Grant Morrison, I dig what he does, so I'm like, I'm going to give him a try. I'm going to give it a read. Add to it the black and white, especially you get the right creative team, right art teams on there. You can get some really cool stuff out of it. So I'm not anti black and white comics. It can be really cool and it can be really neat. And, definitely this is a story Batman is a really good story that fits in the black and white genre. I think I would be less excited for a Superman black and white just because I always like the just that dun-da-da Superman moments, or the Green Lantern Corps. I would be less excited for a black and white Green Lantern Corps because I always like how big colors pop on the Green Lantern titles. But Batman fits the black and white. He can groove in the shadows and just in that color palette.
Yeah. I'm excited for that too, for that reason. I like when stories are told with the intention of using, whether it's black and white or color, using that medium. I think then you do some really unique and special things. Shading is something that I mentioned in particular with black and white comics. I don't think Walking Dead would work as a color comic. I shouldn't say that. That's not fair. But what I love about it is the atmosphere. And I think that atmosphere, the artists have embraced the format and the story's told in that format. There's something to that. I think where story's crafted to be in specifically in that format versus it being a stunt. Yeah, that's not a stunt. That's story-driven. And I think it serves from that. Batman Black and White does the same thing. The artists know and the writers know they're writing and drawing to that format. So I think you get some unique Batman storytelling for it. And atmosphere really is the key. If you lose that, that's where it just becomes a cheap gimmick. And that series has been historically known. And sometimes it drifts off. I think that's when the series ultimately dwindles. Where they don't get the same quality coming through it, consistent quality, I should say. I think Legends of the Dark Knight suffered from the same thing. Legends of the Dark Knight was a marquee series where you had your top writers and top artists telling stories that really meant something to them. You get the same thing with Batman Black and White. I think every so often you'll get stories where it's like, we're just getting a filler story in there. And I don't think books like that, when they're meant to be marquee books, they don't work when you get filler stories in them. You've got to have the top talent doing that. Even Young Guns, who have this wicked, cool short story for Batman, they work in that format. So it's really an opportunity to really showcase unique and interesting, eye-catching pop stories that you can't really tell in the main continuity. That's the point of those series, so I'm excited for that. Speaking of Batman, I'm looking at right now the co-publishers panel that was done by Leon DiDio, and in the panel, the two of them were just kind of talking to the audience, but one of the books they're talking about is Dark Knight 3, The Master Race, with Miller kind of closing off his Dark Knight Return story with a conclusion and a closing. It's funny, I've been very torn about this because DK2 is one of those. It's funny, we talked about it on the show, and I liked it more when you and I talked about it than I liked it during its initial release. I remember during the initial release not liking it, and there's something, I don't know if it's because I'm older or I don't know what it is. The second time, not the second time through, but years later, addressing it with you, I found a lot more to like about it. I think because of the fact that I had such a weird experience with that, I wasn't super excited about this at first, but then initially they talked about Miller and Azzarello. I don't know if I didn't see anything about Azzarello's name, but Miller and Andy Kubert is exciting to me. So if Azzarello's still involved or not, they have me on this one. I'm very interested in seeing where this book goes. With it being, it's an 8-issue series, or it looks like 8 chapters with a insert comic inside with art from different artists. And Miller will be doing some of the art as well. But I'm excited. It doesn't say a whole lot about where that story is going, but I'm excited for kind of a concluding chapter and a closure to that world, because Dark Knight Returns remains one of those books. I remember picking that up in the comic shop, and the first issue of it just had me with this sense of, it was that prestige format. And at the time, it was such a unique experience. That was when Killing Joke and stuff like that were coming out. It was such a unique experience and such a special format. And it told a story of a Batman years later, and it kind of reinvigorated the concept of Batman and when Batman was cool. It was when all that great stuff was going on. We were in high school with Batman. So for me, there's a very special place in my heart for Dark Knight Returns. I want this to bring that back again. So and I think it's enough time that there could be some excitement there. I'm hoping Miller's got that story that's going to hit that. And so this is one of those where I'm tentative, but I so want it to succeed. And on paper, it looks good right now. I'm still tentative about it because 2 is kind of one of those where I flip-flopped on. Yeah. I'm in a good place with 2 now. But 3, I hope out of the starting gate I get that magic again, if that makes sense. Or maybe a new magic.
Yeah, now, do we know if they're going to go with prestige format, traditional format? Have they announced anything like that? Okay.
It just says there's 8 chapters, each issue featuring an insert comic with art from different artists. So I don't know. I would love it to be prestige format, just because I think, just to add it to your collection as being a part of that same series. You know, that geeky part of me is the collectability of that. I would like to put that in with the rest and kind of close it off and have it as a chapter that way. I would suspect they might do that. I don't know.
Yeah. You and I are probably at the same page with this one. Yeah, where I want it to be a really cool story, and just the concept behind it with the master race. It's pretty much sounding like the Superman is sick of human race and he's taking over. And how is Bruce fitting into this? And I think, I can't remember where I saw some clip or some comment on it where people were saying Bruce is siding with Superman on this one, or is it going back to the fight between the two of them with them at odds? And I don't know. Part of me would like, again, if they go back to the well where they're going, Superman is the bad guy conquering and Batman is fighting the champion of humanity, you're kind of going back to that same story we had before. I'd like to see it shift, or I'd like to see them change it up a little bit, and it'd be kind of neat seeing Batman and Superman turning bad and have them saying, you know what, we're going to, that my Lex Luthor mindset, where he has I know what's best for the world, I'm going to do this. I'd kind of like to see maybe this world Superman and Batman kind of adopt that mindset where they're like, we know what's best.
First of all, the story you're talking about, I'd love to read. I don't want it a part of this world, though.
You don't.
Here's the reason why. Dark Knight Returns. This was part of the problem with, I think, DK2 and why it became such a weird issue for people. If you read Dark Knight Returns in isolation, and you read those 4 issues, it was really, at the time, set a tone and an atmosphere and a mood and a definition of Batman. And I loved when Batman had this sense of, it's so cool to be Batman and, getting back out on the streets again and making a difference and doing all that. And the fight with Superman and the reasons behind it with the two of them, with where the world was at that time, made sense to me. And to your point, they did that so well there, you don't want to go back to that well. You got to do something unique with this, and I'm with you on that end of it. So we're in agreement. The story you told about, I would want to read that. I really would. I just don't want to read it in a part of this world. I would like this capped off in a way where I get this sense of that guy that I read in the first series, that Batman, there's some closure to him where I feel a satisfying story to him because I care about him. I don't need him all tied up into our continuity. I really don't. I'm fine with the DK universe being its own continuity. Whether they say it was part of All-Star Batman and Robin or it's just its own thing. I kind of like the idea of it just being kind of, this was the story that we crafted. Yeah. It's a 3-chapter story, kind of like what Nolan did with his films. You know what I mean? They're kind of their own unique thing and tied up together. I don't need them tied into Batman v Superman. If they are, great. I'm all for that. But if they aren't, I'm cool with that too. they can do a relaunch with them. We've seen it with Spider-Man, and I really enjoyed that. So, I'm fine with them doing kind of their own story with that. This is kind of the same thing for me. Let this story kind of be its own thing. And I hope they craft it and they end it really well, and they give this guy, because I care about this Batman. That story has an emotional resonance with me, that first one. And I would kind of like them to do it in a way where maybe that middle chapter, that DK2, I'm in a place where that feels better to me now. I want this one out of the starting gate to have that magic again. And it can be different, but I just want to have that feeling like, wow, this is special. And it's a special concluding chapter of this series, and I care. I care. That's what I want to do. I want to care. And turning Batman bad in this does not help me care. That story's interesting that you're talking about. What happens if, as an Elseworld story, what you're crafting there, I would love to read that. So it's not that your concept's bad. I like that idea. I just don't want it in this. I want this to have a clean closure to that. I would like to be a 3-volume story, where DK1, DK2, and DK3 are all, something that I kind of go back to the well and really special. I'd love if this one really kind of cleans up DK2 for me and ties it all together. If I'm making any sense at all, I would love this all just to be very satisfying in the end. So I know I'm expecting a lot, but those are my personal hopes with it. Is that I get something, because it's a story that's important to me. It really is. It'd be like if they said they were doing a Killing Joke 2. I would be in a similar place of worry and protecting that story, because that's a very dangerous thing to do. I know they followed it up in comics and brought that story, that story was brought into continuity with Oracle being introduced and all that, and they did do follow-ups, but never a direct sequel. And I think there was a point to that, leaving that its own thing. Kind of like the Cult. The Cult needed to be its own thing. You can still do things with those characters afterwards. They've already gone back to Dark Knight Returns and tied in. I almost wish DK2 had been its own story and not tied into this world, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Because
I agree with you.
When we did it on the show, I had different feelings about it. I actually found myself liking elements of it that I didn't like previously with the story being told there. And I think I would have always liked that even more if it had been its own story and not forced into that world. So I hope with this one, they don't ruin what I loved about the first series, and they tie it all together and maybe give me a greater appreciation for DK2. That's my wish list for it. It's a long rant and rave, and you've been very patient with it. But I'm passionate, and it shows that I'm very passionate. I really am very passionate about this story. I'm tentatively excited about this one because of the fact that my feelings on DK2 changed. Yeah,
and it's, again, with this one for me, I want to know where this goes. And it's one of those things where I'm not going to, neither condemn nor praise it until I actually get it in hand. And I think part of that whole thing, my mindset comes from the fact that I never read 2 until we did it for the show. And the reason I didn't read it for the show, I never read it on my own, was every single person I talked to told me, oh my God, it's the worst thing ever written. Don't waste your time. And it wasn't even just like 1 or 2. Every time I brought it up with people, they all said the exact same thing. Don't waste your time. It was, and there's very negative sentiments towards it. So I'm like, I got a lot of stuff to read. I'm not going to read it. And then when I read it for the show, I was like, oh, okay. I understand hatred. I understand it, but I didn't really have that vehement fire and this is the worst thing imaginable. But it was nowhere near compared to me to Dark Knight to number 1. So 3 is going to be in that weird spot where it's kind of going to be one of those, I've got this real positive experience with 1. I've got this okay experience with 2. So 3 can very easily be just a solid story and I'll be happy with it because, it's that whole, well, it's better than 2. It's not as good as 1, but because the story's never as good as the first one, but it's not as bad as 2. So it's got a definite possibility that it can be looked at in a positive light because there was, the darkness in 2. There was that negative story in 2, that negative feedback towards 2 so 3 can come in and say, hey, here's something cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the story is going to be told, just because I'm kind of curious to see how all three are going to compare, how all three are going to work together.
J. Michael Straczynski on Flash Earth 1. Francis Manapul on Aquaman Earth 1. Love Francis Manapul. I don't know if Francis Manapul is going to be doing the art chores as well on it, or if he's doing the writing. I don't know what that looks like. We haven't gotten any confirmation about that. But I've really been enjoying the work of these creators. The Earth 1 concept, Straczynski started it off with the Superman Earth 1 book. And every one of these have been a home run. The Teen Titans one I loved, with Jeff Lemire. I really loved what Jeff Johns has been doing with the 2 Batman volumes that have been out there. Really exciting to see them expand the line into characters like the Flash and Aquaman. I'm really excited for these characters. So this, for me, is something I'm excited about, and it's really on my radar of these books. I like that they're not going crazy with them. Like, I like they did announce 7 volumes of it, if that makes sense. These should be special events when you pick them up. I expect a certain level of quality with these books. And if they lose that, the line is going to lose a reputation that I think it deserves. And I would really say to anybody out there, if you haven't picked up those books, pick up any one of them, and you're going to be in for a great experience. It's like watching a movie. It really, like a well-crafted superhero movie, and I can't recommend them enough for that experience. It's why, out of the gate, when I see new titles being announced in this, and the fact that they're carefully choosing, they're not announcing like 10 of them. I would be worried if they started doing, as much as I would love them more frequently, I want them more frequently with the same quality, so I'm much more content with them being judicious with these and doing them really well than to shove them out and to wreck what makes them special. These are special. This is exciting me because so far I have not been burned on any of them. They've been great volumes. Are you excited for more?
Well, you couldn't see me, but I was doing my happy dance, and I was getting the boogie and the groove going for the exact same reasons you were talking about. I love the Earth 1 concept. I love the stories. Every single one I've picked up and I've said, yes, this is awesome. So you add Flash and Aquaman. I'm like, yeah, okay, we're gonna get some cool stories. We're getting some neat stuff here. And again, you got some names on the books that I trust the writing, so I'm like, okay, I'm trusting the creative process here. So the concept overall has been good. I've got trusted people working on it. We've got no reason to think there's going to take a left turn and things are going to drop off on us. So we're looking forward to some more cool stuff down the pipeline coming from this. So I'm very happy. I'm doing my happy dance. Happy dance.
Milestone's coming back, and I'm excited for this. We've got some of the original creators coming back to the book line. It's Earth M is coming back. It's one of the 7 unidentified Earths in Morrison's Multiversity, so it will be a part of the Multiversity map. I'm excited for that. Lee and Johns are doing the one-shot, to kind of reintroduce them back into the DC universe. I liked Static Shock quite a bit. So I'm glad to see that they're bringing the Milestone concept back in. I like the idea of them doing them on their own world, mainly because I think sometimes, and I think this happens with the Image characters sometimes, you try to force them onto our Earth, and you kind of lose what makes them special and unique with their own villains, their own supporting cast, and things like that. I'd rather see, with the multiverse, opportunities to cross over where our characters go to the Milestone world and see that, versus that being forced. But that only works if you really well craft the universe. I'm hoping this is a success because they're characters that I find interesting. I don't have a rich history with them, but Static Shock is the one I've had the most experience with. Really like that character a lot through animation and through the comics that I've read of Static Shock. It's been great. So I'm excited about this one. This is the one shot's going to be a nice primer for me. And obviously we had characters that were put on the Justice League during our tenure of podcasting that we quite enjoyed as well. So where are you at on this?
Well, it was funny because I read on the one site it made it sound like it was going to be part of the universe. So they're saying, yeah, the Dakota universe is back, you know. And they had the one line, they said, don't call it a comeback. They've been around the whole time. I'm thinking, oh, okay, they're just playing it off as they were here, they were keeping that low, but now something's happening and they're going to step up. And then I saw another one, oh no, it's going to be part of the planet, you know, Earth M, you know, or, you know, the multiversity, etc. And it was kind of weird for me because at first when I heard they're going to be there, I was like, yeah, that's kind of neat having them around. The fact that, and then you hear the multiversity, I'm like, oh yeah, you know, because then it adds to that. When you have that multiversity, when you have that other planet, it does tweak things a little bit with what they can get away with, what the stories they've told. You know, when you don't have, when you have a world that doesn't have, say, a Superman on it or a Batman on it, and these are the main characters, these are the main heroes, you're going to have a little bit more playroom with what you can do with it, what the creators can do with it. So, like you, I actually have a less of an experience with these guys than you do, because I'm really only, when they were actually brought into the main DC universe, is my real reading history of them. So I'm kind of looking forward to them on their own world, their own Earth, you know, just this, kind of understand who these characters are, go back to what they were, what they've always been. Just that it's that resurgence of, here's a new story for you, here's why the multiverse is so awesome, we can do this stuff. And I'm all aboard, I'm all in on these guys, and I want to read this. I want to find out exactly who they are. What is this universe? What's it all about?
I would love to see a larger social media presence for comics. And what I mean by that is, you know, it'd be great to see more trailers on your YouTubes, but also them being embedded on different websites and things for comics, you know, and the concepts that are coming out. Because when I see stuff, you know, anytime there's new comics coming out and new concepts, like the new line since post-Convergence, I keep wanting to call it the New 52, but it's not. These other experimental titles, like your Dr. Fates that they're doing, these are really cool things to throw on websites and in YouTube with trailers and things to get people interested in some of these titles with direct links to trying a digital download of the book, especially with the fact that you got those free sneak peeks to get new readers in. When I see things like Milestones, another opportunity to just hit a new audience. You know, we're going to give them a shot because we're intrigued by new things. It's new titles and new stories and new characters to read and enjoy. But you know, you can't always just rely on people like us and the current fans or the people that read Milestone previously. What you want to do is you want to hit a new audience. And I'd like to see more of that with that. I'd like to see an initiative in place with that, just for my own kind of geek. Because I think right now, taking DC out of it and just looking across comics, there's such a unique quality. If you look at the San Diego news in general, there's a whole bunch of crazy cool stuff going on. IDW announced a Back to the Future comic, for example. There's going to be a big Darth Vader crossover at Marvel with the Star Wars line. You know, we're going to be talking about Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with IDW. You know, it's going to be a crossover. There's cool stuff going on that those are automatic draws to a different audience. Like people who don't normally read comics would pick up stuff like that. They're interesting books. So I'm hoping that we get to see more of an outreach to a unique audience with those. And I know those were property-based, everything I rattled off there, but that's what I mean. I think that there's all kinds of different fans who aren't aware that these comics are out there, that also probably still think of comics as being this paper-only medium. It goes back to what I've always said since we talked about digital. I would love to see digital become the new newsstand, you know, where that maybe builds a new fan, that maybe goes into a comic shop for the first time based on their digital experience. You know, we all got there because of newsstand first. You know, for our age group, you know, that's how we got to comic shops, because they didn't have them before then. It really was newsstand or bust. So when the comic shops opened up, that was a cool new experience. In this particular case, I'd love to see the digital be that bridge to bring people in a new audience. And stories like this are ways to start doing that. I hope. I'd like to see some of that. You know, I'm talking about TV, and I'll go back and we can go to some specific panels. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to throw out a quick comment on within the comic universe still. Mm-hmm. Crossover event that I am eagerly excited for. We Are Robin.
Wait, we're going to talk about the whole Batman panel.
Oh, okay.
So hang on. You're jumping way ahead. I wanted to get some TV stuff out of the way, and we're going to that next. So
okay.
Yeah, yes. to everything you're saying.
You know
and
where I was
I'm
going.
only cutting you off because I think that's going to be a larger discussion than a quick comment.
Roger.
We're going to have to go back to that one.
Oh, okay.
Because I think, speaking of Robins, we're going to have to talk about Jim Gordon's relationship to Robin and stuff. A lot came out in that panel that I think we're going to want to discuss. So, you're right. I want to talk about like Supergirl, that they cast a Maxwell Lord. It's going to be Peter Fasinelli, who is in the Twilight Saga, which is great. I like seeing that character brought in. And it looks like, he's going to be kind of what Max Lord was when he originally was brought in. He's not going to be that villain that he turned into. Could he become a villain down the road? Could he be the Lex Luthor of this series? Maybe. We'll see where that goes with him. But there also is going to be a Livewire and a Reactron in the series. So the more I'm hearing about Supergirl, the more excited I get from that. Flash Season 2 is going to have Hunter Zolomon, Zoom, is going to be, that was like the third Reverse Flash style character.
Yeah.
And that character's been brought in. They also said it looks like there's going to be a Wally West introduced in Season 2 at some point. So I'm excited to see that expansion on Flash. Right now, they can do no wrong. Did you see the shot of Arrow's new costume for Season 4?
Oh, God, yeah. That looks cool, man.
It does.
Definitely got a little bit more of the, the armor kind of styling to it, but it's still Arrow. It's got, it's kind of got some, I don't want to say League of Assassin, but there is somewhat kind of a connection. Yeah, I think part of it, I think those increases and tweaks to his costume are going to kind of come out of the fact that he did have that connection to the League of Assassins. And he probably saw some of the positive aspects of it. Well, we saw when he got hit by the sniper shot, at the end of the season, he survived because of the League body armor. So he's going to realize, hey, maybe there's some good I can take from this costume. Maybe there's a piece here I can take ideas there and mesh it into Arrow. And I like tweaks. I think the costume looks cool. Every season it's kind of grown and changed, little modifies here and there, and so definitely positive and looking forward to that.
And before we talk about the Batman panel, Batman the Killing Joke animated movie by Bruce Timm. They're going to do the Killing Joke, and it's going to have like a 15-minute introduction that kind of introduces what the Bat universe was like leading up to the Killing Joke. I want this to be outstanding because Killing Joke is one of my all-time favorite stories, and I want this to do that justice.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. I saw that. I grinned. I was like, oh, man. Because they're not shying completely. We've seen them calm down some of the dark stuff that have happened in some of these animated versions of it, but they're not completely shying away from it. So it's not going to be a rated R, animated movie, but there is going to be a little bit of grit to it. You can't have the Killing Joke story not have that in there. So I'm really, really excited to see where they go with this and how much of the darkness they keep, how much of the what is actually going to be this animated story they tell, and where are going to be the little tweaks on that. That was kind of a excitement for that, just to see how do they master their craft? How do they do the tweaks? How do they do the little bits here, a little bit there? So yeah, I'm definitely up for that. And who else I thought was cool with Flash? Speaking, that addition of Jay Garrick and Patty Spivot adding to the cast. Spivot. I don't know how to pronounce her name.
Spivot. Yeah, I think you're messing me up now too. Yeah, Patty. Is it Spivot?
Spivot.
Yeah, Spivot.
So
yeah, I like Patty's great. I'm glad to see her.
And I was kind of curious how they were going to do that because you got the whole Barry Iris story. It would be kind of cold of her to jump right into Barry's arms so close after Eddie's death. So with adding Patty to this mix as a possible new love interest, kind of the buffer girl until the Barry and Iris story actually goes full gear, this could be again that kind of way they handle it. Because they already talked about the one clip I saw. They said she's going to be very into the Flash. And Barry's going to be, so they're kind of doing that whole love triangle thing again. And those, I enjoy those in stories. I think they're kind of funny, especially when Barry's going to protect his secret identity a lot better, probably with her, because he saw the negative ramifications that came when Iris started finding out about it. So I can see Barry saying, "Hey, I got burned once. I really got to protect the storyline." So I'm definitely looking forward to, again, the on-screen stuff with Flash, but the in costume stuff, but also the out of costume stuff for Barry. Just seeing how he reacts. I really like the actor as Barry. I like their portrayal of him. So it's more non-Flash Barry Allen stories I'm always up for.
There's a Lucifer TV series coming based on the Vertigo title, which I'm really excited about. And obviously, all of our returning favorites are coming back, like iZombie, and then we got that new Legends of Tomorrow show. There's a lot of great comic book television coming into play. And I just hope that the marketing of those shows lets people who are interested know. Because it can't be, again, like a lot of my comments earlier, it can't be just targeted to us. And these shows aren't a success because they aren't. And they pick up an audience base. I know a lot of people that are watching and enjoying Arrow, for example, that aren't comic book readers and never have been. Same thing with Flash. Flash has developed a great audience base. My father and my brother, who don't, have really basically, we had very little connection with comics growing up. We talk Gotham all the time. That's a show that really was a nice bridge for a different audience base. So I want to see these other shows get that. iZombie, really, it's your crowd that watches Supernatural should be watching iZombie. So Lucifer's another show that'll fit into that. I want these shows I want like Lucifer, for example, not to go the route of Constantine and get lost in the shuffle. Because I think Constantine, it wasn't an issue of quality, it got lost. It really got lost. I don't think the right audience was aware this show was out there. And that's a shame because a great show got canceled. There's some really cool concepts on the table, and I want to see them be a success. And Lucifer, for example. I didn't hear anything about Preacher, and I'm excited. I'm hoping that's... I know that's a thing. I'm hoping that's closer to being a thing than I'm realizing, and I can't wait to see that show.
I thought I heard... I want to say AMC?
Yes.
So I thought that it is, it is a solid thing that's actually happening. It's not just a idea or a concept, or it's definitely going to happen.
Let's go to that Upstarts panel. It was called New DC Universe, The Upstarts, because this is going to go to where you wanted to go earlier. And, when the panel kicked off, they were talking about the current Black Canary series, which you and I even had a chance to talk about on the show. I really want to talk about that because it's a different sort of take for the Black Canary. Because they were trying to figure out what to do with the character, and they said that we put her in a rock and roll band. This is Rock and Roll Kung Fu Road Trip. And what a great description of it. Because my experience with the first couple issues is that's exactly what this book is reading like. And I wasn't sure about the concept at first. When I heard that she was going to be in a rock and roll band, I'm like, okay, I get it makes sense with the scream and all that. I wasn't really excited until Execution. I want to talk about that book on the show because 2 issues in, I'm digging it right now. Are you?
Yeah, we are in the same boat with that book. That is, again, it was something, when they first announced it, I was like, okay, where we're going with this. And by the end of that first issue, I was like, yeah, okay, this is going to be something kind of cool because I loved Black Canary before. And I was like, when they kind of sort of did the de-aging kind of thing about, right around the time with Batgirl, and she kind of, Black Canary kind of got mixed into the mix, and I was like, I don't know. But I tell you, the story I'm getting is a phenomenal story, and I'm really digging it. And there's still some ties and some connections to the past of Black Canary. So it's not like they did a complete whitewash and complete reboot of the character midstream. This is still that same kind of character, and she's just, it's the environment they're giving it for her, and I'm definitely excited and happy with it.
I'm glad you said that because I've got more of a sense in the first, especially the second issue of the series, a sense of age, a sense that this is a character that has been through things versus, Batgirl's skewed a little younger in her presentation right now. And that series, Batgirl's really growing on me. But your point was excellent. I think, Dinah being a part of that and being DH2 was almost a bit too much at that time. It was kind of like, let me wrap my head around Batgirl, then bring her in. They brought her in, and it was kind of like, oh, now we're doing her too? But here's the thing. Now it works for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing the same Dinah that was in Birds of Prey, that was in that Batgirl appearance, and in the story that's being told in the first 2 issues of Black Canary, you're getting a sense of this is the girl that's been through all these things. It's life circumstance that has made her where she's at right now and what she's doing. That works much better for me. There's also a reason for her to be in this band that she doesn't want to be in. And that part also gets me because I'm connecting to the fact that I was like, really? She's in a band? She's like, really? I'm in a band? And it works. It's all working for me now. So it's funny how on paper, the concept, I was like, ooh, this is what you're doing with this? And it's turning around for me. I will say it took me 2 issues on that one, and we're going to have to talk about that in more detail on the show. But I'm glad they brought that up at the panel. And I'm excited for Batman and Batgirl meeting up because they said that Batman is going to have some interaction. Well, we've already seen some interactions, I should say, with Batman and Batgirl. I want to see more of that with the two of them. With her dad being Batman, she knows that he's Batman. He does not know that she is Batgirl, and that works well. But take it. I don't know. Look in the story.
Yeah,
and how he's reacting to her. Do you take that he knows? I don't know now.
Yeah, the scene when he tells her that he is Batman. Back in I can't remember, it was which issue it was, one of the detectives, where we see her telling Barbara that he's going to be the Batman and all that. She was just about ready to tell him that I'm Batgirl, and he stops her. And in a way, he's stopping her because he's like, hey, I just got to get through this and all that. But part of me also wonders how much. Is it because you always have those questions whether he knew whether Batman is Bruce Wayne. I still have those questions in my head, and again, it's just that part of that looking at the fact that it is Jim Gordon, the fact that it is Gordon who is not just a he's a good detective. He knows what he's doing.
You read Batgirl 41 though, right?
What?
You read Batgirl 41 though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. At the end, he's arresting her.
Yes, I know.
So you take that he knows?
I don't know, and that's that.
I agree that there might be if he might be in a major state of denial. I guess I would buy into that. But if you're saying he outwardly knows, I don't think issue 41 of Batgirl tells me that.
See, and it's it's issues like that make me say no, he doesn't know. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, part of me is like, this is Jim Gordon. He would have to do what he's doing. And there's the law, there is there is that code.
Could he be suspicious the way that Lois Lane, like, I don't know, we both grew up reading Superman, right?
Yeah.
Lois Lane and Perry and Jimmy at various times got suspicious about Clark, right?
Yeah.
But then there was something that made them go, oh, that's insane.
Exactly.
Right? So could Jim be in that place when it comes to it where there's sometimes where he genuinely thinks, oh, I think it's her, and then something happens that makes him think otherwise? And I can't help but wonder if it's things like maybe the events that happened with James Gordon Jr. and with stuff like that maybe have kind of thrown him off the trail, so to speak. I don't know. I'm with you where I'll read certain stories, so your point's well met. And I'm not disagreeing with you as much as when I read things like 41, I'm like, well, he just doesn't know. I mean, that's just it. He doesn't know. But then you're right. There's those moments where it's like, in these moments, you're like, I think he gets it. I think he knows. Yeah. I think it's more of what goes on, and I actually quite like that being the explanation more than anything else. The idea that there's some times when he's onto it, and there's other times where events maybe convince him that he's insane for even thinking that.
Right. And part of it is like you deal with when you are that cop, when you are that honest cop that Gordon is, you're going to run into the moments where it's the person on the other end. The person you're arresting, and it's family. It's someone you care about. And those are the gut check times of your conviction. And I think, it's on one hand, this is the gut check of his Batman conviction. If he does know or if he suspects that it's his daughter, he has to go through with the arrest, hoping in his head, this ain't Barbara, that I'm doing this to.
They made mention to the Prez series on there, and I think I'm going to wait for us to comment on that because we're going to do that comic on the show, and I really think that's a comic we're better served really addressing on the podcast and talking it through because I don't know your feelings on it right now. You don't know mine. And I think it'd be better if we just wait and have that discussion, because I think we're probably going to hit that on our next episode anyway, because that's one of those unique books that we probably should address sometime soon. Grayson. This is issue 9 is basically the start of the second season of Grayson, and the new story arc is going to start bringing Dick Grayson back to the DC universe at large. And number 10 is going to see Dick Grayson trying to keep a piece of kryptonite away from Lex Luthor, but issue 12 is the one we've been waiting for. He finally returns to Gotham, and he's going to have to address with certain people the fact that, hey, I'm here.
Alive.
Honey, I'm home. I'm excited for that. It's, after year 1, it's our chance to see what's happening with Dick Grayson. That series remains every single issue one of my favorite reads of the month. Just because of it being such a unique character piece with its spy nature of its story. I'm glad to see him brought back to the DC universe at large now. I'm ready to see it come. I loved issue 9, and we're going to have to talk about it on the show, that opening sequence where he's trying to reach out to Matches Malone.
Yeah.
And starts going, Bruce, can I come home now?
Yeah.
That kind of sense of, hey, we've gone through and it really does feel like season 1 ended, and this is the beginning of the second season. We're like, all this played out, dude. Is it time? Can I come back? And he's not going to get the answer he's looking for from Bruce. I want to see him meet up with Bruce.
Yeah.
Because I got a whole bunch of questions about Bruce right now. So those type of things have me very interested. What happens when he encounters... Honestly, if we don't get to see him encounter Bruce at some point, we're missing an interesting opportunity there. That is because I think people at large are aware Bruce Wayne's alive, right? Yes?
Yeah.
Because he's not exactly hiding.
No, he's out there, so it's public, but I think what it is, it's not... he's not getting like the buzz on, his tweet. He doesn't have a lot of followers, is what I think. He's not the paparazzi following him, snapshot taking Bruce Wayne anymore. So it's knowledge, but it's not like, on, the main television and whatnot, that makes sense.
Yeah. Midnighter is a series I know we're talking about our next episode, because you're a huge fan of the character, and we're going to talk about the series direct, so I'm not going to say too much other than issue 3 is a fight with Multiplex, but issue 4 is the one we're going to be looking for. It's going to guest star Dick Grayson, and I want to see them follow up again, because I really loved his appearance in Grayson. So I'm glad that they're not dropping the relationship that these characters have had. That's very interesting to me.
Oh, God, yeah. Definitely. I'm, yeah, we got to talk about that one.
Lee Bermeo is talking about the We Are Robin book. And as you mentioned, there's a big crossover coming that's going to be in Gotham Academy, Robin, Son of Batman, and We Are Robin.
And Grayson.
Is that in Grayson too?
Grayson's also. Plus, there's going to be one-shot bookends, beginning and end for the story arc done by Tom King. Mm-hmm. And we are talking the Robin War. Oh, I'm so pumped with this one. Damian finds out about We Are Robin, and he is not happy about it. Oh my God, I want to see what the little guy does with this title and what they do, and I'm ecstatic for this one. And especially when you start throwing in like names and titles that I'm like, this is a great title. Oh man, oh wow, yeah. This was one that as soon as I read that, I did some hooping and hollering. I was high-fiving. I was doing my happy dance when I saw this one, just because of such anticipation. And with the We Are Robin book, the first thought that popped in my head is, what's Damian gonna think of this? What will he go with the flattery, impersonations, the highest form of compliment, or is he gonna go, hey, this is Highlander, there can be only one? How Damian's going to handle this? And that was the story I really wanted to see when the concept of We Are Robin was introduced, and when I first started reading some of this stuff. I'm so pumped for this one.
The writers of Constantine were mentioning that they really want to take the character back to his roots when he was originally introduced back in Swamp Thing years ago. So they really are going back to more of a Vertigo feel with the character, which I like that idea. I want to reference it again. I am really excited. We're big fans of Freddie E. Williams II. We've had him on the show many times because we were fans of his artwork right from his first Robin issue, and really became fans of the creator, but also the human being. And I know from comments he's made on the show, and obviously if you follow him on Facebook and Twitter, he's a huge Batman fan, but also a huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan, and's done work with IDW on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with covers and, various work that he's done over there. He's doing the artwork on the crossover.
Yeah.
And the crossover is going to be written by James Tynion IV. It's going to be Shredder and his ninja gang comes to Gotham, and Batman teams up with the Ninja Turtles to stop it. I'm super psyched for this.
And it's not even in the one press clip I saw on it, it's not our current Gotham. So it's again a multiverse, alternate Earth Batman. So who knows which exact Batman universe we're going to get. We're going to get other members of the Bat family duking it out with the different members of the Turtles. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the one comment they made was Leonardo versus Damian, a battle of swords. There's a couple other things they threw out that I was like, when I first saw the clip, the headline of it, I kind of thought, oh, what? Is this a joke? And then I click on it and I started reading the article. I saw Freddie Williams. I saw James Tynion. I'm like, okay, I'm in excited. Then you start reading the details behind it and what they're going with this. This is a great crossover, and I'm very excited. I've got the other IDW DC crossovers with Legion and Star Trek, Legion of Superheroes and Star Trek, the Doctor Who, Green Lantern stuff. So this is just another one of those crossovers between these two companies that I'm like, okay, this is going to be a cool story, and add to it creative team
you mean Star Trek? You mean Star Trek Green Lantern, right?
What?
You mean Star Trek Green Lantern, right?
What did I say?
Doctor Who Green Lantern.
Oh, sorry.
The Star Trek Green Lantern series, which just came out, is really cool. And it's you're right. The IDW stuff's really cool. You mentioned before that it looks like it's out of continuity. It's a different Gotham. I like that. See, to me, those crossovers should not be beholden to continuity. Exactly. They should be a jam piece. And it should be driven by story. It should be whichever version of Gotham that those creators, attach to. Same things, whichever version of the Ninja Turtles those creators attach to, and really give us a story that's a satisfying A to B fan service geek out piece. It needs to be a well-crafted A to B story that's not a throwaway, that at the end feels like a movie. That's one where I want it to feel like an animated feature. You know what I mean? And this has all the makings of that, especially with the fact that you got creators on it that are geeking out about being a part of it. I'm in. I'm very in on that one. That was one. When I saw Freddie, I saw it on Freddie's Facebook first, and that was what really drew me in. And I encourage everyone to follow it. If you're a fan of his artwork like I am, he posts a ton of commission sketches, but also variant cover work that he does. He likes to show, and I love that he does this, and we're seeing more and more creators do this. There's a lot of creators that I follow that do this, that they do the pencil and then the ink wash and then the color work. And I love seeing those stages. I'm not an artist. I marvel at the work and care that goes into doing these projects, and I love seeing that kind of stuff. He did this really cool variant for San Diego Comic-Con. It's the reason why I corrected you, because it was for the Star Trek Green Lantern crossover. And it was he did the San Diego variant cover for it, and it's really cool looking. I was really just in awe of it and enjoying it. I made it actually the background screen on my iPad. It's really, really cool. So I encourage people to go and check that out if you're able to attend the con or not able to attend the con. When you're doing it.
It was neat because the one thing I saw they're talking about, we're going to get this Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle team up, but with Shredder and his goons coming to Gotham, which ones of Batman's rogues are they going to get on their side? So we're going to see. I'm hoping we're going to see one of the turtles versus Killer Croc. A turtle versus a crocodile. Come on, that's a fight made in heaven. I want to see that battle. Obviously, whenever you talk Batman, you always wonder how the Joker can get involved with this and deal with it. And there's so many of the Batman rogues teaming up with Shredder that would be kind of interesting against the turtles. I'm very happy and very excited for this one.
The funny thing is when you start mentioning that concept of them teaming up has a lot of possibilities. some pretty universal ones where you could do more than one mini. And I'm thinking back to like the old Batman versus Predator days when Dark Horse and Dark Horse and DC did those crossovers. I would love to see, you know, if this is successful and then there's more stories and these creators about it. I would love to see, you know, if it does real well, Batman Ninja Turtles 1, Batman Ninja Turtles 2, with really good contained stories. Are you dying over there or something?
Sorry, I started coughing. I'm trying not to, and
Listen, dude, we've got some serious rules on this podcast. You aren't allowed to die during recording. If you want to die afterwards, it's fine, but you've really got to give me like 24-hour notice so I can get a new co-host. Are you okay now?
I just got this coughing fit. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. I'll call 911 when we're done recording.
Oh, we're done recording. Thank you, pal. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's all about the audience, man. Where's your dedication?
Hey,
Die on your own time.
The two of us, one of us recorded from a hospital bed. Okay? You want to talk dedication, man.
That's a good point. That is a good point. You know what? I stand corrected. That's true. Yeah. I completely stand corrected. You also recorded from Italy and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. So, yeah, I got to give you that. All right, you're right.
And I'm now done coughing, so...
The We Are Robin book, one of the things they were talking about is Duke Thomas is the main character, and he's from Batman. And it looks like he's going to... I don't know if he's going to be the Robin of this current Batman, but, you know, we had... In Batman Eternal, there was that issue that was done in Batman that introduced some characters that we really haven't seen come to play yet, if that makes sense. And I'm going to be very curious to see what the state of Robin looks like for this particular story, you know, with Jim Gordon. Is he going to have a Robin? Is it going to be Duke Thomas? It looks like they're implying that may in fact be the case, which is going to be very interesting considering the We Are Robin book. And is it going to be the typical Batman and Robin relationship, considering what this means for these characters? I'm super stoked for this. It's funny, when I saw there was going to be Batman and Robin Eternal, which we really should talk about, that's going to be a 26-issue miniseries, weekly series. You know, it's the follow-up to Batman Eternal. The lead in that is not Bruce Wayne. The leads in that are going to be Dick Grayson, Cassandra Cain, and who was the other one that was going to be in that? That'll come back to me in a minute, but it's not going to be Bruce. Bruce is going to be in it. It's going to be a flashback story that involves Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne being together back in the days when Dick Grayson was Robin, which I'm anxious to see what that looked like in the New 52 history, to see them together. But I'm excited for more Batman Eternal. I'm more excited for We Are Robin and how the Robins fit together with this new world. And it's Harper Row, Dick Grayson, Cassandra Cain. Every Robin will appear. So it looks like Bruce is not the lead character in this. That doesn't mean that current Bruce might not appear in it. But when we talk about the Batman panel specifically, which we'll go to next, we can talk about what's going on with Bruce, because they start to allude to a lot more to that at the panel. And it was the right time to do it. So, good stuff.
Hope this craft can withstand this powerful force.
Jim, you had some voicemails that came through for you, and I wanted to play some of them, and we could talk about your reaction to them if we could.
Hello, I thought you were there already. Obviously you're not. Okay, bye. Hello, this is your doctor speaking. I needed a couple of phone numbers, but I'll try you on your cell if you're in town. Okay, bye.
Jim, I've told you before about having your doctor call our show voicemail line. I don't know what's going on here. But really, you know, you're home, maybe. Clearly your doctor doesn't know how to reach you because your doctor keeps calling our show voicemail line. Jim, there are 24 of these from 2 numbers.
Oh my, you kidding, right?
No, we're going to play a few of them because we really have to address some of them. I'm not going to play all 24. I'm not going to put people through that. But there's some of them that are downright funny that we really should address from your doctor. I don't know why your doctor's calling here.
Hello, are you there? Pick up if you are. If not, I'll try you again another day. Hopefully tomorrow, but I have a question. All right. Bye. Love you. Hello, hello. Anybody there? Please pick up. Hello, hello. Are you there? Sure, I'll pick up the phone. Now I'll talk to you tomorrow. All right. Bye. Love you. Hello. You gotta be there now. 'Cause it's morning. I'm getting tired of this. Please answer phone. Bye. Hello, hello. It's 101. Someone should be home. Please answer your phone. Bye. Hello, Mommy. Are you there? Guess not.
Now, there's a few more that I do want to play for you, but do you notice a problem here? This is the same number, the same person. Some of these calls are 1 and 2 minutes apart, Jim. There were 24 of them. I'm playing like maybe 6 of them, 7 at the most, that we're going through. But we went from first the doctor, right? Do you heard the part where she identified herself as the doctor? Who, your doctor? I don't know who.
See,
here's the thing. Here's the problem. The times, Jim, when you see the timestamps on these, I'm pretty convinced either you or I were both home at these times. So I don't know if she's calling for me or she's calling for you.
I'm thinking she's calling for you.
Because she said mommy. But she said mommy.
On this panel, there's only one doctor. She doesn't say, hey,
no. She said nope, correction. She said she's your doctor. She said she's your doctor. This is your doctor calling. That's what she said. She didn't say I'm calling for the doctor. Then she said something about mommy, which totally blew me out, and that she loves you. So I'm convinced this is your doctor calling, because she said this is your doctor calling. She didn't say she's calling for the doctor. She said this. No,
calling for you.
Word for word. Would you like me to play it? Would you like me to play it back again to verify the fact that she says this is your doctor calling? But 24 times across 2 telephone numbers she called, because I got all excited because there was 24 messages, and what happens is with the voicemails, they're through Skype. So I get an email when there's a voicemail waiting, which is good because I can kind of pre-plan for the show and know that I got a certain amount of voicemails. Well, I saw a bunch of them coming in. I'm like, oh, maybe people are really interested in shouting out San Diego news or something. So I got kind of excited. I'm like, let's see what's going on. Then I realized they were all from the same number. And when I saw the timestamp on them in the email, I'm like, oh, somebody maybe was having trouble with the voicemail. So I went on to see what was going on, because I was going to call the person and perhaps sort it out. I have not called this person. I'm scared. I'm not afraid to admit it, because she went from being your doctor to loving you to calling you mommy. and I mean, this all happened in a chain of 3 days. This is over 24 calls over 3 days. And some of them are spaced 1 to 2 minutes apart. So she called back, I know you're here. It's 101. I'm like, oh my.
You should be home by now.
Yes. So I was like, what do I do with these? And I'm like, well, we have to talk about some of them, right? Because they're scary. So your doctor's calling up the show, thinks you're mommy, and loves you. All in a straight change. So this may be your doctor from multiple Earths calling, who you have a very different relationship with.
Yeah, well, here's the funny thing. Mm-hmm. The voicemail has it's not like we don't have just a generic, you've called yada yada yada, please leave a number. In the voicemail, you talk, hey, you want to talk comics, and it's the message is a lengthy message. So how is she not hearing that?
I'll tell you why. And many of our listeners will verify this. It's very easy to zone out when I talk. So she didn't hear it. She just tuned out. I go, Jim, I ramble on. I mean, so this lady's kind of like, I don't know, this dude's rambling on. Let me just get to the part where I get to talk. And it's your mommy. I'm looking for mommy.
Once again, that's more argument that she's calling for you.
You think so?
She hears your voice and she's just like, oh, yada, yada, okay. I think she's calling for you, dude.
You think so? It's your doctor. I'm still convinced she's your doctor.
I think it's your doctor calling.
See, dude, I don't have a female doctor. Do you?
No.
Have you ever gone to a doctor that's female?
No.
Would you like to? Because dude, I have the number of one for you. Wait, as a matter of fact, not only that, I have 2 numbers for her. So if you need, I'm here. I can hook you up.
Hello, this is Bluebird. Please call. Please, 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 please. I'm worried because I haven't heard anything from you. Please, please call. Thank you. I love you. Bye. This is getting tiring. Please answer. Please, please. Bye. Hello, hello. Pick up the you home. This is Little Bluebird. I've been trying to call you. Please call me back, 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 back. Thank you. Bye. Hello. This is me. Pick it up. Please. I want to talk. Please, please. Bye. Pick up. I know you're there. Pick up, please. Bye.
This is Bluebird. Picky up. Wait. First of all, I love the fact that this is getting tired. I'm not kidding. Over 3 days, 24 calls. So, I mean, these are the greatest hits from Bluebird. Bluebird, wait a minute, started off as your doctor.
Right.
She went from that to saying she loves you and calling you mommy, and now it's Bluebird. This is the same phone number for every single one of these calls. So the way it works on Skype, like I see a list, and to the right of the number, it shows how many phone calls there were. There were 24 phone calls from Dr. Bluebird.
Yeah,
wait a minute. Tell me this wouldn't... I don't know if you'd call her a villain or a deranged... Like, she could be like Secret Six, okay?
She's a Secret Six villain.
Not even that. Well, I guess...
A team member.
That's what I'm saying. You know, Gail Simone needs a new character, Dr. Bluebird. Here you go. You take one of the members, you know, because somebody's eventually going to die, right? Right, or leave the team for whatever reasons, and you need to freshen up the book or something like that. Tell me this is not the ideal character. Dr. Bluebird calling up. I love you, mommy. It's like really great. Here's the thing. Seems like a very sweet person, whoever she is. But the part that scares me about all this is the fact that we go from this is your doctor calling, to I love you, to Bluebird, to mommy. When you hear 24 calls, she's like sitting here saying it's tired. And what I'm not playing for you, because I took out the pauses, there are dramatic pauses between every bit of what she's saying. I mean, like excessive dramatic pauses that I didn't put in there because I didn't want to put anybody through that. I had to listen to 24. I didn't have to listen to 24. It's kind of like a train wreck. You know, you want to like follow through. And there is something charming about her because she sounds like a very sweet, confused person. But the part that scares me about her, and it's the only part that does, it's not her voice and all that. She seems sweet and everything. Clearly she's got the wrong number. But she called 24 times in 3 days and doesn't know that. But this is the capper. This is the last one. I'll play this one, and there's a point to the last one, and we'll have to address it.
I guess I'll talk to you when I get back. Obviously, you're not there. I'm getting tired of this, and you're not even answering my phone calls. Mother and Daddy, bye.
Okay. Now, I left the pauses in on that one so you get kind of a sense of what a phone call sounds like from her normally. Here's the problem. Does she think everybody has the same phone number? Because this one was for Mother and Daddy.
Right.
I don't know what's quite going on here. And I'm not releasing phone numbers or anything with her. I mean, I don't mean her any harm or anything like that. I find it fascinating that this is the 25th phone call because it was on a different phone number. So I'm wondering if she thought at this point, whoever she's calling was screening the calls.
Oh, definitely.
So then called on a different number to try and sneak in. Because I was all excited after listening to 24 of these. I'm like, oh, finally, another listener. Imagine my surprise when, no, it's Dr. Bluebird.
You know, I got to say is whoever she meant to call.
Yes.
They owe us.
Big time.
Big time.
Yes.
I want to call her just to find out who she was trying to call, so I could call that person and say, "Dude, you owe me big time."
We should be podcasting for free over the next year because of this. 25 phone calls. I shouldn't say I had to listen to. I'm fascinated by it. See, like, this is one of those where I'm very torn. Like, it was like when she said it was tired, I'm like, yeah, you're right, it is. I'm like connecting with her on some weird level, and I just don't get it. I'm fascinated by the shift from doctor. This is your doctor calling, to mommy and daddy, to I love you, to here's what I want to know, and I don't want to call her because, like, I'm afraid to.
Yeah.
But here, what I really want to know is who she's trying to call and what the relationship is there.
Yes.
I do secretly think you're lying. I think this is because you've called our voicemail line from Vegas before. So my personal feeling is this is somebody you've met in Vegas. And they're looking
I gave out this number?
Yes, because you've called the voicemail line from Vegas. There is a pattern forming here, Jim. Okay? So the only other time I've gotten weird phone calls are when you've called from Vegas. Right? So you might protest a bit much. And I think Dr. Bluebird's secretly linked to you. I don't know. But that's just my take. Actually, it is. It's funny. The number is a local number to us.
It is. Oh,
It
yeah,
is.
I was wondering.
It is. It's. I won't give out any number information, but off the air, I'll tell you the area code, and you'll see that it is a local number to us. Very local to where we grew up. So, yeah, very, very interesting, Dr. Bluebird. I figured this was kind of a neat. We were talking for like an hour and a half, and I'm like, I want to throw this in somewhere because I find some humor in this. It's kind of a good break mid-show.
Well, when you first said, "Well, Jim, got a bunch of calls for you," I'm like, "Oh boy, okay." I'm bracing myself. Okay, come on, let's do this.
Yeah. Well, I did that deliberately because before we started recording, what you guys don't know is before we started recording, I said, "Yeah, Jim, I got a voicemail from Jack that we're going to start off the San Diego discussion because it's really relevant to that discussion." And I said, "It doesn't make sense to like put him in the middle because we're going to go back to things we're already going to be discussing anyway." But then I've got a bunch of phone calls for you, and I really want to address them on the show with you here. And I didn't tell you anything about this.
Oh, yeah.
Reaching melting point. Not sure we can make it.
Jim, I want to talk a little bit about the Batman panel. That was the DC New Universe, or New DC Universe, I should say, Batman Are You Ready panel. And this was great because I love when creators, now that this reveal of Jim Gordon as Batman, but also Bruce, so immediately being there. What we did find out from this panel is that Bruce Wayne is alive, but what he's going through right now is an after effect of the process that made him alive again. So he's not Bruce as we know him. We don't quite know what Bruce knows and what Bruce doesn't, but also it seems like there is a personality shift where Bruce Wayne is Bruce Wayne right now. And it almost is like, because of the fact that he lost everything due to the whole Endgame situation that happened with him, and he Batman and the Batman Inc. lost everything for him. He's in a situation right now where he's just living as Bruce, and this adds some credence to what Alfred was saying to Clark. Leave him alone. Let him just be. Let him rest. And I think Alfred loves the fact, I think so totally Alfred knows right now, because I don't think this is very well hidden, but Alfred knows that Bruce Wayne is just Bruce Wayne now, does not necessarily know or want to be Batman. I don't know if this is a memory loss issue, or if whatever the process was that brought him back has made him not want to be Batman, or whatever. I'm interested in the story. I like the mystery, that part of it that we don't quite know. But people seem very comfortable knowing that he is Bruce Wayne, and I don't know if they brought him into this, what does it look like, a kitchen of some sort that he's working in or something? I don't know what the deal is with him, but I love that they've brought this out at the panel, and they talk about the history of this. This is intriguing me to no end. What a killer story.
Oh, God, yeah. It's kind of again, we always talk about the questions, the unanswered questions that were, that mystery that's unfolding. And some of the best parts of a really cool story when you have we're getting these bits, but there's still more to learn. There's still more to learn. There's still more on Bruce. I was kind of looking at him as if, I was thinking kind of a memory loss type of thing, where he's not Batman anymore. Whereas when his parents died right in front of him as a child, in a sense, Batman was born on that day. Just the mission was born, everything about him. He went from being this kid who was having fun at the movies with his parents to this post-traumatic stress disorder, just victim who's constantly dealing with that. And as he grew up, he kept pushing forward towards this darkness. I think in death, the darkness was finally released from him. And this is what Bruce Wayne would have been like had he not had that darkness in him, had he not been able to deal with it and push it out and move on. So I think that's what it's kind of not a complete memory loss, but it's I don't need to be Batman anymore. I'm done with that. I'm just going to live a life now. I'm going to live a good life. And I think that's partially that's what brought him back. That somehow that's connected to him actually coming back from the dead.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a part of me that thinks there's no memory.
And there could maybe be. I'm again throwing out a guess.
No, I like your guess. By the way, let me clarify that. I think that, but I like your guess too. I like that. It's not. There's nothing in the issues right now that spells any of that out, other than the fact that he's been identified as Bruce Wayne. People are talking to him as Bruce Wayne. We haven't heard a lot from him. We haven't heard anything from him, have we? Did he have dialogue? I don't think he did.
I don't think so.
The cliffhanger was Jim Gordon going to talk to him.
Right.
So, I don't know. I'm interested in the whole thing and seeing where it goes.
Yeah, and I know, it's, because there's so many, and the ideas I have running through my head are going to probably differ from what actually comes out. So it's one of those kind of excitement things. This is one of those eagerly anticipated excitement moments for me, not just to find out, the end answer, but just the process he got there and where does this go, because on one head, I'm thinking, what happens if violence is reintroduced into Bruce's life? Will he have that muscle memory of being Batman all those years? If someone attacks him, does he just bam, bam, do the flip flop, bam, kick, punch, the various whatnot that he knows because he is Batman? Or will that even be gone? Because you run into a lot of people with, especially martial artists, fighters. It's not just about knowing, okay, block, punch, kick. It's muscle memory where your body just automatically takes over. If someone throws a punch, high, right, block, kick, combo, and it's just stuff that automatically fires on the brain. And it's not anything, that it's nothing that they have to consciously think about. Bruce has those, has that in him. Will that stuff come out? And, when will it come out? How will it come out?
So I like the idea. This concept is, what if Batman died and Bruce Wayne came back?
Right.
And Snyder's the idea isn't to take Bruce off the table; it's to explore a different side of him that we never had a chance to before. And I'm very into that. I mean, they're doing really cool things with this book that makes it interesting. I'm excited. The back truck's going to come back.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a Batmobile sometime around issue 47 in this book. So I like that there's forward thinking. This book's going to be around with Gordon for a while, because we're just getting the story kicking off. I mean, there's a lot of depth to explore in what's going to happen here. I love the villain like Mr. Bloom and stuff that they're doing with that. The great part about this panel that I liked was Capello, and I apologize for name butchery, talking about his relationship with the colorist. And I really love, when we've had Freddie on the show, he's talked about what it's like to work with certain colorists and how, that changes your workflow and how you do that, because you're thinking about what the colorist brings to the table and what, sensibilities and how that relationship is going to be. And Capello was talking a lot about that, about the relationship with FCO Placencia, and I'm butchering that. I know I am. And I really love this art team for the work that they're bringing to the table. They're talking about how the books look different from 0 Year straight on through to today, and it's reflected the stories that are being told. And this is an art team that is going to, I think, historically stand out as being one of those remembered art teams in the Bat mythos, because they've been around for a really long run, and I hope that run continues. I like that they have great story ideas, and they're keeping it fresh, and I hope that, after this Gordon is Batman story, wherever it goes next, that it's still this creative team delivering this story, because I want to see them continue to have this mammoth impact on this book. And I want some of these I just watched that Justice League Gods and Monsters, is it Gods and Monsters? Whatever the new Justice League animated film is, and you and I talked about it, and we're gonna talk on the show about that when you get it. But I downloaded it on iTunes, and it just came out. And this is the one that Bruce Timm did. That was an Elseworlds story, where it's a reimagining of the Trinity, but not only the Trinity, the whole DC universe. So because it's Elseworlds, you can do all that. And I was thinking through that, they were talking about, we're getting a Killing Joke. There's going to be another Batman one that's coming up. There's going to obviously be another Justice League one that will follow up, because it seems like they're trading off Batman, Justice League in their storylines. And to me, I really would love to see Gordon as Batman done as an animated feature. I think the Batmech, the Bat Truck, the Blimp, all of that stuff, and the way that they're doing Gotham would, do Endgame and then do this as animated features. I want to see them translated to the screen.
Oh God, yeah, that would definitely fit, and that would work well. Again, it's they're building with the animated universe. They do a really great job with building this universe. We've got the Vixen story coming out eventually. That's going to be animated. I'm looking forward to that one. We've got obviously we've already thrown out a couple names, but even with the Justice League one with the Atlantis,
the Throne of Atlantis.
Yeah, thank you. I drew a blank. I'm like, something Atlantis. What's the name of it?
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah. So it's
Well, Vixen is it's separate from that. Vixen is going to be tied into the TV universe.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not an original feature. It's going to be a web series that's going to be on there. So it's a different sort of delivery. I was talking specific straight animated features, but I love your point about that, because I would love to see them use the animated medium more. So the Vixen one's a very good point that you're mentioning. I'd like to see more of that kind of stuff done, like expand out in different areas and get it out there. And just make sure you collect that stuff, because I like having those, owning them. And being able to watch them whenever I want. So I hope the Vixen one, I know it will be. It'll be either its own thing, or it'll be a special feature released on one of the TV seasons or something. And I want that. It's good that they're using a variety of different mediums to get these characters out there and in the face of the public. And they're being done well. That's the important part. I mentioned the Batman Arkham game. One of the things that's great about all of these different mediums when you put them together is when they're done well, they excite people for the properties. It's how you keep your brands in people's faces. And these are brands that have been around for over 75 years. You need to keep them in people's faces. They're important. They're like Mickey Mouse, and Disney and all that kind of stuff. They're a part of our culture. And a part of the cultural creativity, the amount of people that have touched these characters in particular, great creators throughout their history that have made a mark on storytelling, that have impacted people's lives and enjoyment from the kinds of stories that they've told that were relevant to the time. That's awe-inspiring and really cool. And I love seeing this stuff being brought to life in a variety of medium just to keep it relevant to today. If it's not the comics, at least somebody knows who these characters are, through Lego games, through this, through that. There's a new Lego, I forget the name of it, Lego Infinity or something like Lego Dimensions. And it's, Batman's going to be in it, Doctor Who. It's, one of the guys in our Facebook group, and it's so right. It's like, he was alluding, I'm poorly paraphrasing him, but he was alluding to the fact that you're probably never going to see me again once this game comes out. You can do crossovers between Batman and Doctor Who, and yeah. Okay, Batman in the TARDIS. I hope that happens, because I want to play that game. But that's neat that there's just this different medium and tailored to a wide variety of age groups out there. Avengers, the original Avengers TV series and Batman 66 are doing a crossover, which is something that I'm really excited about. Are you reading the Batman 66 book?
I stopped reading it.
Did you?
Yeah. It was a cool book and all that, but I've got so much stuff that I had to start cutting stuff, and with announcements of more titles, I'm going, dang it, what am I gonna? You guys are killing me here.
See, I like a lot of the direct-to-digital stuff and that Batman 66 stuff. You know what it is? I'm gradually watching the series right now, and I'm not binge-watching it. I've got so many shows I'm watching. What's nice about Batman 66 having all 3 seasons is I'm just gradually watching, like, I watch them in 2-parters. You know, the way that they were released, you know, where you can watch the story together, and I'm making my way through. But I love watching them and then going and reading the comics. And I read them gradually. The 66 digital series is something I stockpile just because I'm reading all of the digital series and they're released weekly. So, you know, like there's ones tying in directly with Arrow and the Flash that are really incredible. There's a Wonder Woman one right now that is tied into. There's the Sensational Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And then there's the Wonder Woman that ties into the Linda Carter series that's out now, which I really like as well, because I was a big fan, a geeky fan of that show when that was out. I like that in these direct-to-digital, they're doing some things there in these smaller delivery pieces, and the video game tie-ins. There's a Batman for the current game, Arkham Knight. There is Injustice Gods Among Us. They've continued the story from that world. So you don't have to read all of them. They're unique experiences. I do encourage you to check out, listeners out there, some of the DC direct-to-digital and they are collected as comics afterwards. So check them.
That's actually how I read them.
As comics?
Yeah. I forgot the actual comics of them. And one of the things with the Batman 66, I thought about waiting until it got compiled into trade paperback or hardcover, and same thing with that Wonder Woman, the Sensational Wonder Woman. I was reading that and I was really enjoying it, but I'm like, I think I'm gonna postpone that, maybe get when it gets collected, or maybe do digital on it. I'm not sure.
The Batman manga is really good.
Really?
Yeah, it's a translation of the old Batman manga that was released, and some of those are they have that Lord Deathman that Grant Morrison used.
Yeah.
In that, so these are the stories that Grant Morrison was directly inspired by these. It's really good stuff. It's because it's different. It's outside of the norm. So I do encourage people to kind of browse through them and see if there's things that would interest you in them. You've got some great creators working on those, and we don't get a chance to talk about them much on the show. But I'm a big fan of those digitals. But the Avengers Batman crossover is good. They just did that Green Hornet one, Kevin Smith did, and it was a sequel to the episodes in Batman that involved the Green Hornet. And I really enjoyed kind of seeing that brought to comic life. And Kevin Smith did a great job on that. But that was its own. You didn't have to be reading the regular 66 series to enjoy it. It just took place in that same time frame. So I don't know. I wanted to shout those out as something that I'm really, really digging. They did mention again at that panel that Duke Thomas would be one of the central figures in the Batman story, teaming up with Gordon. I'm curious to see what that Batman and Robin. If it's going to be a Batman and Robin relationship, or if it's going to look a little different because of the nature of those characters. But good stuff.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that Superman panel? It's the new DC Universe Superman Are You Ready? Just because we're both, I think, geeky Superman fans. Because I liked that one because they started to explain what their premise was with doing this with Superman. And I really loved the theme when you heard creators talking about DC right now. I think it's something you and I have mentioned on the show, enjoying as readers. There's this sense of, let's not restrict some of your creativity, even with the core titles. There is a sense that there's certain core DC titles, and you know which ones they are. They're Justice League, your Green Lantern books, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman line, those type of things. Those are your core titles. Then there's other books outside that are like, the creative tapestry. But even in the core titles, they're pushing the boundary. But I like Dan DiDio mentioned core titles, and then really unshackling some of the creativity on the satellite title, the outside titles, for lack of a better term. And I really like that sense, because I feel we're getting that as readers, the protection of the core while allowing them to explore it. Like Superman right now, oh my gosh, this idea of having him depowered, and that we're gradually finding out how Lois, because 42 looks like it's going to be the issue where we find out how Lois discovered it.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to read that story now. Far more excited to read it because it's been a mystery that's been building. We've seen him dropped into this status quo. Now we're going to get the end game. How did this come about? How did she discover it? And where did it lead to because of this? I love the balance of that in the Superman world. And I love the enthusiasm of the writers involved. But issue 42 is where that's going to happen. Neil Adams talked more about his series. Batman Superman is really cool because we're going to see these two characters try to figure out if they can even work together. That interests me because, we're used to a Batman-Superman relationship where it's Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent. They have differences that sometimes cause them to butt heads, but they also have this sense of respect that, one operates in the dark, one operates in the light, what they can do because of the areas that they operate, and sometimes causes them to butt heads, but other times leads to a respect of, wow, you really know things that I don't, and can understand things that I don't, and can be of value to me. This is going to be a whole different animal with Jim Gordon and Superman and what's going on there. Clark right now doesn't have his X-ray vision, right?
Yeah, he that hasn't come back yet. I don't think.
So he doesn't know. He doesn't know who it is.
He doesn't know who it is. He knows it's not Bruce, but he doesn't know who it is. But Clark Kent is still an investigative reporter. He's smart enough; he'll figure it out if he hasn't already. And that's something I'd like to see their interactions with that kind of stuff with him not knowing, because in a way, Batman was always in the shadows, Superman was in the light. Well, the roles have kind of been reversed now with, even though Superman's identity is known by everybody, Superman can't be Superman. He can't be dun-da-da, flying to save the day. He's got to, stick to the shadows a little bit. He's got to start, he's not going to become Batman, but he's got to he's probably going to have to adopt some of the Batman mindset, while Batman now, because he is Gotham PD, he is in the light. There's the flashing lights. There's the big, the blimp in the sky, Bat truck, Batmobile. We're going to get all those type of the cool toys coming into play. But Batman is, for all practical purposes, more in the light. And I think that's going to be an interesting dynamic with these two.
Max Landis has that project, and it's Superman, what is it, Alien America? Or American Alien, I'm sorry. American Alien. And this is going to be a young version of Clark Kent who gets into trouble as his powers are manifesting. So it's not like an origin story. It's more of, I don't want to say, it's rough to say it's a time of Smallville because you kind of are oversimplifying what he's doing here. But he's telling like these one-shot stories of, things like he gets on Bruce Wayne's boat and people think he's Bruce Wayne. And, it's interesting to see what a younger Clark Kent was up to. And, Eddie Berganza was saying we got a Superman for every taste. But it's 7 stories from Clark's life. And it's stories that Clark might tell you over a drink. And I'm very excited. He said it's kind of an opposite of All-Star Superman. I'm excited to see that era because it's an era we don't see a lot from. You and I loved Smallville because of that.
Yeah.
And I would love to see what it looks like in the new 52 version of Superman. For lack of I don't know what else we would call him other than the new 52 version of Superman. Have they come up with a branding for all this now?
DC, the new DC universe.
DCU.
Yeah, DCU.
DCYOU, yeah. So, yeah, the DCU version, I guess, of Superman then. Yeah. That's what we're going to call it. I don't know. I'm kind of excited for all that. Superman's had a really great time. I love that they talked about the Bizarro book. I know you and I are kind of in different places about that, but I'm having a load of fun with Bizarro. And Corson was talking about that book, and he said it's. I love this explanation. It's Jimmy Olsen and Bizarro in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Jimmy takes Bizarro to Canada in one of the upcoming issues, which he has convinced Bizarro is Bizarro America.
Right.
And then there's an issue coming up where he can understand Zatanna and becomes a backwards-speaking magician because of it. He said it's a return to stuff like Ambush Bug and Justice League International. I'm totally reading it that way and loving it. I like that explanation of the Planes, Trains. I love Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, so I thought that was an absolutely terrific reference point for that series. Can we talk about Justice League, the Justice League panel? Because, oh my God, this included talking about Earth 2 and what's going on in that world. But it also talked about things like Wonder Woman, and she's got an arc coming up where it's going to explore Donna Troy. And we get some clarification that they don't look at Donna Troy as becoming this superhero. They look at her as becoming like kind of an anti-hero out of this, but Wonder Woman is going to work to redeem her. And I'm intrigued by that and that character. They also talked about the creation of the costume and how they went through a lot of different designs and iterations before they arrived at the one they got to. But she said that she wanted the idea and the concept behind it to be, very similar to how... And Amanda Connor expressed this when she was working on Power Girl. The idea that, a female would have different costumes, different variations, because, there's a fashion element of it. There's kind of a style element to it, which is, guys would tend to want the uniform, whereas girls would want that same thing, but they would want to be able to stylize and do those type of things. That's an element to it. And he mentioned wanting her to have pants, kind of that whole functional thing to it. I think it's a nice encompassing of all of that, while at the same time keeping at the core what makes Diana cool. It's a cool costume, and I like it because of it, but I like hearing creators talk about why they got to it, so that stuff was neat. They talked more about Cyborg, and it's Vic's first solo book since he was introduced in 1980. There's been minis and stuff like that, but it's Man versus the Machine. I love they talk about Metal Men are going to appear, but also with tech being so advanced now, there's this sense of we want to make him be a sci-fi story again. And nowadays we have phones and watches and stuff like that. We want to introduce tech that's not available now. We want you to feel like Vic is a piece of the future. He is this experiment. He does have these cool things that we don't have now. That part really intrigues me.
Yeah. How does he go to the bathroom? How does he eat?
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. It's really, really funny. It's a great panel. Levitt spoke about Dr. Fate, and I like that the idea of his Egyptian heritage is going to become a part of it. It plays into a lot of the mythos and the magic and all that through it, but this idea that this great flood to wipe out things is something that he's going to have to combat. But I like that this character having this background. It's something you're going to see with his parents. It's something you're going to see with his heritage. It's something you're going to see play into the Dr. Fate mythos. And I like that. I like that it's adding something new to DC from that. I've been really enjoying the book so far.
One of the things I thought was interesting was talking about Cyborg's villains.
Uh-huh.
Because that was something. It was funny because when I, was reviewing the panel, I'm like, yeah, who are Cyborg's villains? Does he have a rogues? And I just started, thinking about stuff, and they're talking how villains are those that keep him from recognizing his humanity. So it's going to be, we're going to get some of those more tech versus human. Because I was wondering if they're just going to go throw them up against other robots, throw them up against other cyborgs. What's going to be the deal? And I think we're going to get a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. So I think we're going to get some new villains out of this title as well, which I'm kind of excited for. And I'm kind of curious to see what kind of people he would go up against.
Yeah, I agree with you. Can we talk a little bit about the Vertigo panel? Because I'd be remiss if we didn't mention that they're rolling out 12 new titles. And here's the thing. I really like to do this on the show because of the way they're broken up, if you don't mind. There's going to be 4 in October, 4 in November, and 4 in December, which is very manageable for us.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do is maybe in each of those months do an episode relating to those specific titles for the month. Yeah. Because you're not a Vertigo reader, and I think I'm excited for these because I'm a Vertigo reader and I want to read these books. You're not, and I would be very curious to see, in your case, what you like and what you don't. But I think what's even more important is which ones would you continue to pick up afterwards? So in October, we've got Twilight Children #1 by Gilbert Hernandez and Darwin Cook. Darwin Cook, Gilbert Hernandez. Survivors Club #1 by Lauren Beukes, Beukes, Dale Halvorsen, and Ryan Kelly. Clean Room #1. Woohoo! Gail Simone, John Davis Hunt. I'm imagining you're going to be picking that one up monthly.
Yeah.
This one I'm grabbing for sure. Art Ops #1 by Sean Simon with art by Michael Allred. These are creators. I want to see another monthly Michael Allred book. I'm very into this.
Here's the interesting thing with that art ops, because it's, the one thing I saw was like a love letter to New York City and their art scene. The paintings come alive, and I was like, oh, okay. And I wasn't that thrilled. And then I heard them say, oh yeah, it's a creative iZombie. I'm like, okay, I'm in. It was one of those things where, like a lot of these, where I'm like, I hear the concept, I'm like, okay. Then I would hear who the creative team is behind. I'm like, I'm in now. Okay, I'm in now. And so there's a lot of these things I'm looking forward to, and a part of me is cursing because I'm like 12 new titles. I am going to pick them all up, and I'm going to see. Hopefully, we'll get some good bundles from DCBS on this one because I'm going to need a discount. But I'm like, I want this stuff, and now I got to figure out what I'm going to keep. What is going to happen? Am I going to have to start selling blood again? I don't know. I may have to redo some of my budgets.
But I think that'd be fun to talk about at the time because they're coming out in bundles of 4, which I really like. I mean, this is a smart way to introduce it. Give people a chance to kind of digest 4 of them. Then the next month, November, you get Unfollowed #1 by Rob Williams and Mike Dowling. Slash and Burn #1, Cy Spencer, Max Dunbar, Andy Parks. Red Thorn #1 by David Bailey, Megan Hetrick. Jack #1 by Eric Kripke and John Higgins. And apologies for any name butchery. December brings us Sheriff of Baghdad #1 by Tom King with Mitch Gerads. New Romance #1, Peter Milligan, Brett Parson. Lucifer comes back with Lucifer #1, Holly Black and Lee Garbett. Perfect timing because there's going to be a Lucifer TV show. Lust Gang in Town #1 by Simon Oliver and Rufus Dayglow. I mean, this is a huge one. And also continuing will be American Vampire, Astro City, and Suiciders. So, a lot of great books coming out of the Vertigo line and kind of a rebirth of what Vertigo is. This title lineup to me is what Vertigo's all about. I'm curious to see, too, I'm like you. Here's the thing. It's not so much the financial issue, it's time. And I want to go through each of these 12 titles and talk about which ones do I know I want to devote my time to, which ones am I not sure of, and are there any that I don't want to pick up. It's very interesting with 12 new titles. I'm just excited for a reinvigoration of this line because this is the kind of stories that you can't get in the main DC universe. And they always should be. They should feel different, and they should expand what comics are available to deliver. Vertigo is always a creative house, and I'm excited for these titles. I'm excited for the creators associated with them, and so we'll do 3 months of those. We'll do the October, November, December. If you're okay with that,
sure.
I think it'd be a lot of fun to talk about on the show. It's kind of a good way to talk about Vertigo without you having to pick up trades. In order to do that, you can do one, we can do single issues and get kind of your answer on that one.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something right now. I am so looking forward to that Sheriff of Baghdad. Tom King writing, just an American cop and an Iraqi cop team up, buddy cop type of team up story being told over there. I am so excited for that one. That's something I'm really going, that's going to be cool. That's going to be kind of neat, especially with his background, with his knowledge and his writing skills, telling that story. That's going to be awesome.
We didn't talk about this. Justice League Gods and Men is a six single issues coming out of the Darkseid War. There's a Batman issue focusing on, armed with godlike power of the Mobius chair, the Dark Knight has taken on the role of Metron and plans to use the infinite knowledge of this device to turn Gotham City into a completely crime-free zone. Superman, corrupted by the weird energies of Apocalypse fire pits, Superman has been turned into an angry, violent brute, and only one man can possibly save him, Lex Luthor. Green Lantern, Oa has been conquered and transformed into a parademon factory, and the Green Lantern Corps is no more. Only Hal Jordan remains to follow a distress call from the last active Lantern seen fighting on Oa, John Stewart. Lex Luthor. At last, Lex Luthor, the new ruler of Apocalypse, can do what he could never accomplish on Earth, hold the fate of a world in his hands. But his one failure from the Darkseid War continues to keep him from the peace he craves, and only a crazed Superman can help him get it. The Flash? The Flash takes on the role of Death's Harbinger, the Black Racer, and the beneficiary of his first visit? Aquaman. Shazam. This one has me all those are cool, This one has me super excited, surprisingly so. Instead of accessing the powers of the old gods, Billy Batson now commands the combined powers of the new gods like Highfather, Mantis, and others trapped within the Source Wall, and that's power that no mortal should possess. Cool concepts, and I'm excited to read that because that story has been a home run hit. We talked about how Jeff Johns has this great skill of, you have this big story going on. You know, we talk about things. Sinestro Cold War is always the one I go back to because we had some great one-shots that came out of that expanded our understanding of specific characters. Cyborg Superman, I thought, was one of those hidden gems of a one-shot that came out of that particular series. So, you know, when I see stuff like this, because of the name associated with it and because of what happened previously, those are immediately for me must-buys. And I'm really excited to read those.
It's funny, as you're talking, I'm sitting there just nodding my head, going, yes, 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 yes. You know, and I keep forgetting, oh yeah, Jim, you should probably comment on some of this stuff. But I'm very just thrilled and excited on this. And it's something that it's building and building. And then every time we get another clip, another piece of the puzzle, it's that whole, you give me a taste of it, I want more. Feed me more. And they keep feeding us. And they're giving us more with this Dark Side War. This is one of those that I'm eagerly anticipating. I'm planning on getting absolute volumes of this. This is something that's going to be something kind of huge.
You know, they had a Mysteries in Space panel, which was basically Green Lantern and Batman Beyond that they were talking about. And, you know, a lot of this is stuff that we've been talking about on the show. We haven't talked about Batman Beyond yet, but we are going to talk about it on the show. And the creators were talking about the difficulties of bringing multiple timelines together, but also that Tim Drake is a very different Batman because he's not comfortable being called Batman. And it has some of his insecurities. I really enjoyed that Future's End storyline with him. I love this is building off that and taking that character and giving us a viewpoint into him. And Barbara Gordon and Batman take on Ink in one of the upcoming issues, which is really exciting. Sinestro is a book that we've both been really digging. We just talked about it quite recently on the show and some of the issues there. The Lost Army is kind of further clarified here, and it's a lot of what we expect. That's the book that's really going to be the key player in explaining what happened to the Corps.
Yeah.
So that's the one where we're going to find out where they are, why they are, and what that looks like.
Yeah, as we said, we knew we'd get this. We knew we'd get it. You you look at the creative team behind, Lost Army. They're going to tell us what's actually going to happen. Eventually, it's going to play out, and it's going to play out throughout the story. And this is some cool stuff going on in the Green Universe.
Hal is the hero we all know and love. It's just that the greater world the greater universe, I should say, doesn't recognize him as that. He looks as an outlaw. I thought it was cool they did a panel on villains. The Bad Guys, Are You Ready panel? Yeah. Where they were talking about things like Suicide Squad, which is a great book. That was the Injustice book was brought up. Lobo, because Lobo kind of fits into that category. Harley Quinn. And that Lobo book, I wanted to write a story where Lobo ripped off one guy's head and beat another guy to death with it. Which, to me, Lobo, I am amazed at how much I'm adoring Lobo. I don't just like Lobo. The more I'm reading it, the more I'm loving it. And I wonder if this is what it was like, because I can't speak to this experience. For the Lobo fans back in the day when they were reading the book, when that book was just coming out and it was, kind of the edgy book of the time, because it has a huge fan following from that era, and I can't speak to it. I didn't have the budget to be reading much Lobo. I was aware of the character. I did see him in crossovers, but that was it. He was a guest star. He wasn't somebody that I was following, but I had friends of mine who really loved the character, and when I say I didn't get it, it's not diminishing him. I didn't read the character at that time. So when he was really relevant and really at his prime, I wasn't reading the character to understand and appreciate it. So I'm having fun with this version now that really is very today and what he's doing. So when I'm at the panel, he's talking about stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what I'm thinking about Lobo. But he's also going to be a lot more a part of, they said he's going to be a lot more integrated into the cosmic universe, the space universe of DC. So we're going to see a lot more of him interacting that way, which I'm excited for.
Yeah, I kind of want to see Lobo versus Sinestro, just to see how that would play out. That'd be a pretty cool fight sequence.
they talked a lot about Harley Quinn and just how the fun nature of that book and how it's lighthearted and entertaining, but they, it was funny when they said that Power Girl and Harley Quinn wasn't something they initially saw at first until it was something that they did, and then they were thinking about, well, what happened between those panels, and they put that book together, and what a fun read. And that's one we're going to have to address on the show, to talk about the nature of that book, because I'm curious to see. You and I have different tastes at times when it comes to comedy in comics. Comedy's very, very hard to do. There's actually a lighter side panel that they had where Dan Jurgens was talking about this with Batmite. How, the problem with jokes is a lot of times you may think you're being funny, but other people are groaning and, laughing at you, not laughing with you. And I'm paraphrasing, but that was like kind of his concept there. And I really like that they're experimenting with comedy again in comics. Some lighthearted, fun comics that are more like an animated series than a traditional comic, because you don't want all your comics that way. What you want is, that's another piece to the puzzle. Another mark of variety. Because comics, I forget what creator said this, and I apologize for this, and somebody listening is going to go, oh, you mean this guy. But comics were not referenced as a genre. It was a delivery medium. And any genre can be told in comics. And I'm a firm believer of that. And many comics incorporate multiple genres. It's just as rich as the novels that are out there. I think for a while it got labeled as a superhero-only platform, and it's really not. And I think in the case in point, when you even look at a superhero universe like the DC universe, the kind of variety they're offering right now just shows how flexible the medium is. When you add in Vertigo and Independence and all of the comic companies that are out there and the great work that's being done, you can see that. Jim, before we wrap up, there's some other things with TV that in film that we want to talk about. You and I were just talking off mic about the Green Lantern. You said that you saw something about a potential Green Lantern announcement. What did you see?
Yeah, there's talk about the Green Lantern reboot, and again, when we're getting ready for this, I was looking at multiple stuff, so I thought they announced it at San Diego Comic-Con, but I'm not finding where the definite announcement is. But they're saying the reboot title will be Green Lantern Corps. And it won't actually be just Green Lantern. They're saying we're going to have Hal Jordan, we're going to have Jon Stewart, even they threw out Guy Gardner. And the talk for the characters, Chris Pine as Hal Jordan and Tyrese Gibson from the Fast and Furious movies as Jon Stewart.
Nice.
Yeah, I know. And I saw both of those because it was, obviously Chris Pine would do a great Hal Jordan because he's got the swagger. He's got that, he's got that look to him. He played Kirk. Come on. If you can pull off Kirk, you can definitely pull off Hal Jordan. And Tyrese Gibson is the one that when I first heard the name, I started thinking, I was like, I don't know. But then you start looking at some of the stuff he's done, and he could do that nice combination of, because Jon Stewart does have some intense moments to him, but he also has that guy that you could talk to, and that guy you would feel comfortable approaching and being your friend and knowing, hey, he's got my back. And he can pull that kind of that vibe to him where, Hal Jordan, you need to have the strut. Well, Jon Stewart, you need to have that dependable friend. You have that man who's got your back, that brother in arms. It's, and so again, those are two things I was like, man, that's kind of neat. And then the fact that they're saying it's going to be a Green Lantern Corps movie, not just about the Green Lantern, just not about one person. Again, for me, that was the biggest mistake that the previous Green Lantern movie did, where they had some moments on Oa, but then they left and went back to Earth. I wish they would have done more with the aliens, more with the intergalactic police force, as opposed to just the Guardian of Earth or the superhero on Earth. So I'm excited. I'm hoping they pull this off and this actually does come to fruition, because this is something that I think would be really cool for the Green Lantern title. And again, another tie-in and a connection into this whole Justice League, Dawn of Justice, Justice League movie franchise they're building.
Barbara did kill her parents in Gotham, because the actress was at this panel that was there and talked about how that's going to add a problem to the relationship between Jim and her. She did actually kill her parents.
Oh, okay.
So
cool.
that's going to be a twist. That's going to be a problem between the two. And then Hawkman's going to be appearing at some point on the Legends of Tomorrow TV show.
Oh, nice.
But also, White Canary is going to, the actress Katie Lotz? I'm probably butchering her last name, and I apologize, because she's great. She was talking about the Lazarus Pit time has changed her, so it's not just a visual thing. She's going to have some times where she just goes nuts because of her time in the Lazarus Pit, which is really, really great. I can't wait to see the stuff with Arrow, because the twist of Mr. Terrific going to be in, Anarchy is going to be a part of this whole thing. David Ramsey is going to have some kind of outfit or something that he's going to be wearing in this, so I can't wait to see what that's going to be all about. I love the character of Diggle. So I can't wait to see what they do with this. That show just remains up there. They did have a highlight reel of Vixen. There was a sneak peek to that.
Ooh.
And a highlight reel of The Flash, which you're going to want to see over at Newsarama. And I'm referencing it's the San Diego Comic-Con 2015 Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, and Vixen, a Night of DC Entertainment panel. And they have direct links to the highlight reels of all of these shows. So you're going to want to go and check that out and see them. Especially with references to who Jay Garrick is and what he's going to come in with. I'm really excited for the TV show lineup that's coming. I'm just excited for this as I am with all the great movies that are coming up from DC. A lot of really cool stuff going on. And then there's another one. It looks like they're going to be showcasing the whole panel online as well, and Newsarama's doing that. So it's a cool thing that's coming from DC. Any stuff from San Diego Comic-Con that you want to talk about that we missed? I know we covered quite a bit. I know we probably didn't cover every single detail, but is there anything, Jim, that I left out that you wanted to hit on?
No, I think we got it covered.
A lot of good stuff. I mean, was this as under your radar as it was for me?
Yeah, it actually was, which kind of is amazing that. Because I remember thinking, oh yeah, San Diego Comic-Con's going on, but it wasn't anything. I was really just thinking how vast information was going to be out there. Then when I started, doing the research and started looking stuff up, I'm like, oh my god, it is. And then, there's stuff on Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead. There's a bunch of cool Marvel stuff coming out, Star Wars stuff coming out. There's so much stuff out there on this that it was absolutely kind of. I kept getting confused what I was finding and stuff. And
good stuff.
Yeah.
Glad we got a chance to talk about this.
Come on, Skreel. Let's pay these Plutonian beam makers a visit.
I want to remind everyone about our show voicemail line. It's 1-440-388-4434 or Dr. Norge on Skype. Feel free to have your doctor call us. We love having you and them a part of our show. We want to remind everyone about RagingBullets.com. It's our show website, and it does the link directly to our Twitter feed, and that's the place to go to find out what's going on with our show episodes and content and how it's going to be released to you. We are on Facebook, and there's a wonderful Facebook group community that I want to shout out. We have a Facebook fan page. We also have a group, and I just want to shout out the amazing people in that Facebook group. They're just fun to talk to, and it really is their community. They have taken it so far beyond our podcast, and I just a testament to the wonderful people there. If you love talking comics and pop culture, and you can go in there casually and just pop in for a visit. You can go there every day. There's always something going on. There's great people there. And you know what I love? People have become friends on there. You can see people who have clearly talk on a regular basis with each other through there. They're joking around with each other. There's a familiarity. I love that it's become a community, and that's a testament to the quality of the people there. So consider joining up and checking out what's going on with the great people in the Raging Bullets community. We are also on Google+. And I'm on the PlayStation Network, so any way that you are interacting or communicating, we want to be there for you, so definitely check us out. Those links are always available on our show website in the About Us section. They're also in the show notes. There's a link to that as well, so that section's always where we update, and you can find us from that section of our website. Sponsoring us this episode is DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. What's going on at DCBS?
Absolute Joker Luthor hardcover. Luthor Man of Steel 5-issue miniseries combined with the original graphic novel Joker. Normal price $99.99. 40% savings on DCBS. Your price $59.99.
And remember, they are a digital partner. So whether you're doing My Digital Comics or you're doing Comixology, you want to link those accounts to your DCB service account. And remember to shop through the portal on the website. 5% of those purchases, doesn't cost you anything more, goes towards your DCB service order. Over at I almost said odor. And maybe you have a DCB service order. It all depends on what time you're ordering and what you've been doing. But over at InStockTrades.com, you are going to see the amazing deals of the week, which are always 50% off. They always are offering really cool deals there. They also have at 42% off and wide variety of discounts, some great books. Aquaman, Volume 6, the hardcover, the new 52 version, is 42% off. Only $14.49. They have Will Eisner's The Spirit, a celebration of 75 years. They're doing this series of 75-year collections. They've done Batman ones, they've done Robin ones, they've done a Joker one. They're 42% off. This one's $28.99. And I like that they're celebrating these characters and doing a collection of some of their great stories. Aquaman, in the previous series, they had the great Sub Diego series that was going on. The trade paperback's 42% off, only $9.85. So wide variety of product you can get over at InStockTrades.com, and I encourage you to go over there and see what deals they have there. Browse the site. They have a wonderful search engine there. You can find pretty much anything you're looking for over at InStockTrades.com. Our next episode, Jim, we are going to probably be talking to your doctor again, but besides that, we're also going to talk some comics. We're going to talk all of the amazing changes coming post-convergence over at DC and amazing titles that we're reading. I want to talk about things like Midnighter with you. We want to talk about actually let's kind of wait and see what the week looks like and what kind of books that we're interested in talking about. We are going to go through every single title while touching on old favorites. So we got a lot of stuff to discuss next week on the show. We will see you then.
Bye.
On November 13th, Sean Whalen was asked to stop constantly talking about comic books. That request came from his wife. Deep down, he knew she was right, but he also knew that someday he would find someone that would talk to him. With nowhere else to go, he appeared at the home of his childhood friend Jim Segulin. Sometime earlier, Segulin's boss had requested that he shut up about his comic books and never speak of them again. Can two grown men put out a DC Comics podcast without driving each other crazy? It's Raging Bullets, the DC Comics fan podcast. With Sean Whalen as Dr. Norge, and Jim Segulin as the Sensei of the Whatnot and the Duke of You Know. It's a spoiler podcast, so they will go in depth into the plotline, story twists, and whatnot of the comics they are reviewing. So if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you may better enjoy the show.